the victory, and also both teams raised some money and went for a cause really close to my heart and family. Everything has been my biggest challenge ever faced, and punishment has no limit, but we must try our best to carry on fighting and find a cure to people and families who unfortunately will have to do the same battle I have now. Thank you again, Gloucestershire, and everyone who has been a part of today, putting on pink forces and seeing so many press for the occasion. Please, where you can donate to this great cause and thank the Airmen Association. Has brought me so much in life, and I am forever grateful. Love to everyone, and let's enjoy this Gloucester week. Love, peace.
The applause you heard was from some of the spectators on the ground for a video shown on the big screen of David Sid Lawrence talking, and I use the word advisedly, through the voice box that he now has to use to communicate, because tonight at the Seat Unique, Gloucestershire turned the ground pink for Sid. Welcome from Dan Whiting and Ian Randall to our coverage of the match tonight against Hampshire. There is a predominance of colour tonight. Now normally you'd expect it to be the yellow and black, but not tonight, Dan.
No, good evening to you, Ian, and it's fantastic on what is a very emotional night here in BS7. We've been out and about amongst the crowd. We were giving away a Tom Price pink shirt, and there were some fantastic outfits out there, really wonderful stuff. There were pink Crocs, there were pink waistcoats, and the winner was a pink Superman. But anyway, the news here in Bristol, where your match officials today will be Richard Illingworth and Jack Shantry, with your match referee sending us all cricket loopy, Steve Davis. And the news, Ian, from the toss is
Gloucestershire have won and have asked Hampshire to bat. So after a good win at Canterbury, where Gloucestershire's record is decent on Wednesday night, can they back it up now and try and pull themselves up by their bootstraps onto the ends of those teams chasing a place in the top four? Table really at the minute looks as if Middlesex are third from bottom. They have 12, but they're only 6 points behind Surrey, who are second. Now Gloucestershire only have 4 points, so they're quite a long way behind Essex bottom at the moment. There is no wriggle room at all for Gloucestershire.
No.
And Hampshire too, having had a strong start, have just hit the buffers a bit in the last week, lost at Taunton last night. So this is probably a must not lose for both these two. Team-wise, team is pretty simple. Hampshire picking the same 11 that played at Taunton last night. So Leandre Pretorius will open with James Vince. Toby Albert will bat at 3. Then Joe Weatherly, DeVault, Brevis, and then a powerful middle order, a bit like Gloucestershire of old. James Fuller, Benny Howe, Liam Dawson, and then the bowlers Curry, Wood, and young Eddie Jack. Gloucestershire, no Ajit Singh Dale, and that's got to be with a night of Sunday.
Yeah, it has. He's been rested, so it's going to be Jack Taylor, Matt Taylor, Cameron Bancroft, Ollie Price, Ben Charlesworth, Graham Van Buren, Josh Shaw, David Payne, Tom Smith, Darcy Shaw and Miles Hammond in no particular order. So, yeah, I agree with you. There's no, it's a must not lose for both sides, isn't it? And Hampshire have got a wonderful track record in this competition. They've been to finals day more than any other side in the history of the competition, and they'll be disappointed, I think, with their season so far, and they'll want to get it back on track.
Yeah, so winners 2010, 2012, 2022, lost in the semi-final in 2021, lost in the semi-final 2023, had a poor year last year. Unlike them, to be fair, but of any of the teams who you think have got a chance of getting into the top 4, Hampshire got 14 points at the moment, 3 wins, 3 losses and 1 tie.
How did Gloucestershire get on last year, Ian? Do you know?
I think I vaguely remember that may have had quite a good day out at Edgbaston. Although, the start of this season's competition, has not made us think too fondly of that in recent times, because that kind of feels a long time ago. And I spoke to somebody on the way in today who said, funny, isn't it? Darcy Shaw moved up to open, Josh Shaw back in the team, suddenly it started to function again. And that's only 2 small changes.
Yeah, they were playing well in spells, even in the losing streak, Gloucestershire. But, we both said last week against Glamorgan that too much was being asked of the middle order. And the win at Canterbury the other night, I thought they got Gloucestershire off to a flyer. And that was one of the cornerstones of last year's campaign. And I thought that they looked back to normal. Crowds really building up here at the Innings Stadium up in Bishopston. And it's going to be an emotional night, isn't it, Ian?
I have to say that there have been some traffic issues around the ground. I know that from where I came from, there was a 45-minute delay on the motorway today. So some people, I think, have been, it tends to be the way with cricket at the St Unique Stadium midweek or on a Friday. You've got to get here really early to make sure that you're not involved in the bottleneck close to the start of the match.
Yeah, I know that the Hampshire coach took 2.5 hours to get up here from Taunton. So, or Hampshire media team. So, I think there are issues on the M5 from the south and from the north, as Richard Illingworth and Jack Chantry, both from Worcestershire actually in their time, as they'll come out to the middle. Jack Chantry's brother Brian played here at Gloucestershire, and here come the Gloucestershire side led by Jack Taylor, Ben Charlesworth in a pink headband, Miles Hammond with pink hair tonight as well. He'll be quite distinguishable. Well,
he's good. I did think that he might not wear a cap tonight, but he is wearing a cap, Hammond, which is not making him quite as stand out as he was during the warm-ups, where his haircut was very striking, shall we say.
Yeah, James Vince, it's good to see him back. He's only playing white ball only now, isn't he? And he's been a wonderful servant of Hampshire.
He's still 34, he's not, you might say he's, okay, is he in the autumn of his career? Let's be polite. He's certainly not at a point where he's going to stop, you feel?
34 is not old, is he?
Not in my book.
Or mine.
David Payne is going to open the bowling from the Ashley Down road end. He will have 2 players out, and as is the norm for him in the power play, they are at deep mid-wicket and deep point. The temporary stand that was in for the international is partly dismantled, and Gloucestershire, having won the toss, are going to bowl first here in the last Friday home game in the T20 Blast as things stand. I'm not sure the dates of the quarterfinals, but that will be a while away, and it will be a good run for Gloucestershire to get to the quarterfinals from where they are. But it's got to start somewhere, and it started on Wednesday at Canterbury. Payne in, and Pretorius will get a single off the first ball, pushed out through a straightish extra cover, and it's fielded at mid-off. So Pretorius left-handed, Vince very much right-handed.
It's been a hot few days here in Bristol. Temperatures have been hovering around the 29-30 mark, and you can already see the outfield is lightning, isn't it? That one really raced away. Pretorius didn't really time that, and the outfield still looks rapid.
So still a slip in for Vince. Ollie Price and Matt Taylor's going into a short third man. Payne ball now ball to the Hampshire captain, and into the air, and dropped extra cover. That's Hammond, I think.
Van Buren.
Van Buren, sorry. Looked to be a gentle clip. Now, Graham's not the tallest, but he would have expected to have taken that, and Vince picks up 2.
He'll be really disappointed in that, Graham Van Buren. That's I mean, you'd be disappointed dropping that at club level. And Graham Van Buren's normally got a really good pair of hands as well.
3 for no wicket. Still in Payne's first over. And Vince will clip that to Van Buren now at mid-on. So he's actually fielded the ball in each of the first 3 deliveries of the match, Van Buren. He's made 2 stops and he's dropped a catch. And Vince is just the sort of person who could make you pay very heavily for that.
Yeah, especially in this format. But as you said earlier, Hampshire's strength is that engine room. I'll come on to it after this ball.
Pretorius only 19 years old and got a score last night. That's just clipped to mid-wicket where Matt Taylor does the fielding. He got 34 last night. He got 37 off 34 balls.
That's a low score at Taunton, isn't it? That's failure at Taunton.
Which is kind of steady in T20 format. Payne again to Pretorius. That's a bit more aggressive, and that could be out, and it is. Taken safely on the rope by Darcy Short, and he doesn't trouble the score as much tonight. Pretorius gone for a single, and although it's not James Vince, it is a wicket for Gloucestershire in the first over, and Hampshire 4 for 1.
Yeah, he just sort of flicked it sort of quite lazily there, and it just went on, and Darcy Short doesn't drop those. Safe pair of hands, but it could be looking really good for Gloucestershire here, couldn't it? If it was 2 for 2, it'd be looking a lot better. As we're talking about though, Hampshire's real strength is that engine room in the middle. Dawson, Fuller, Howell. 2 of those have played for Gloucestershire in the past, in Fuller and Howell. And Liam Dawson's from just up the road. He's a Swindon lad. So there's links there to sort of the West Country. But that is a cracking start for the hosts.
Yeah, it's, as you say, 1 breakthrough. It might have been 2. And Toby Albert has come in at number 3.
He's a good player, this guy. Basingstoke lad.
Come out of the academy.
Yeah,
Southampton.
Plays at the beautifully named Mays Bounty, home of Basingstoke and Northants CC.
Payne still from the actually down road end, and that's outside the off stump. So a successful over for David Payne. He might have had 2 wickets. He has got 1, and Hampshire 4 for 1 after the first over. Looking at the other matches here this season, obviously the Kent game, Kent got over 200 and won narrowly. We've seen lower scores win, but generally, you know, a 190 kind of score is where Hampshire will be wanting to get to. That's where Ace Tribe got Glamorgan to in the end.
Isn't it great to see Josh Shaw back into the Gloucestershire side? He's a warrior, isn't he? He'll run through brick walls for his skipper. Jack Taylor must be really enjoying seeing him back. Here he is from the pavilion end, just tinkering with his field. He's still got a slip in place as he comes in to James Vince. It's just onto the legs, tickled around the corner to Matt Taylor. No run.
What has been made about the signing of Todd Murphy for the championship matches through to the end of Cheltenham. Obviously he test spinner. Gloucestershire got plenty of spin options in their team in the side tonight. Ollie Price, Darcy Short, Tom Smith back in the side. Van Buren himself.
Sure. That's a big appeal for LBW. Looks leg sided, possibly a bit high. Apart from that, Ian, I thought it had a lot going for it.
Sure thought it had enough.
Shaw's having a laugh there with Richard Illingworth. Wouldn't have hit another set, I don't think. But got to ask the question, haven't you? Got to ask the question.
Right, Ollie Price has been brought out of the slips into a straightish mid-wicket. So still just the deep backward point and deep square leg out.
Vince being very conservative here, paying Josh Shaw a lot of respect. 3-dot balls in the power play so far for Shaw. Gloucestershire will take that all day long.
And Vince again got runs last night. I mean, he is a. I kind of go back to maybe the Glenn Phillips kind of spell at Gloucestershire, where he's very capable of starting slowly but accelerating quickly.
Yeah. Again, good tidy stuff from the Wakefield Warrior, Josh Shaw. A bit like your car, Ian. You know, starts slowly but can get up quite quickly, very quickly. I've seen you up the M5 back up to Gloucester.
Generally somebody else would be driving it if it was going at that pace.
0 to 60 in 3 hours.
You followed me then.
You overtook me. Sure. That's a nice shot. 4 runs from the moment it left the bat, pierced the field, and that is trademark James Vince, one of the prettiest players on the county circuit. And that's not a half volley, he's just lent into that. It's a lovely shot.
Now that's the, I would say, the slightly shorter boundary towards the Kennington Avenue side of the ground. The pitch very central, but the longer boundary is towards the mound stand. Not by a lot, but I think, suffice to say, if it beats the infield tonight, as Dan was mentioning, the outfield is very fast.
Vince drives up to mid-off. This is good stuff from Josh Shaw. 5-dot balls in that over. Good start from the hosts. 8 for 1, Hampshire. Vince is on 7. Albert, who's only faced 1 ball, yet to score.
Obviously tonight is Pink for Sid night here at Gloucestershire. The Gloucestershire players wearing this pink kit with white facings on it. And if I can during this over, I'll explain, if you want to get your hands on one of these shirts, how you can do it. Because I think the club's shop were completely sold out before play started. Here is Payne, thick outside edge off the bat of Toby Albert, down to short third man. Matt Taylor's there, no run. So I believe that the club are going to do effectively an order now after tonight, because they've basically run out, or they've sold out. So if you contact the club and pay for the shirt, they will then effectively do a block order for the number of shirts that they have in demand, and that will follow after the weekend. Single out into the leg side. Ben Charles coming in off the rope, keeps them down to 1. So I didn't say that very well. I'll explain that again. So if you contact the club and pre-order and pay for your gloss shirt, there will be a deadline at some stage. I'm not sure what the deadline is, at which there will be a cut-off point, and those that have ordered and paid for their shirts, the club will then go and order that many, which will service the demand. So if I can put it like that. Here's Payne from the Ashley Down Road end into Vince, who just checks the shot. Ollie Price is at short extra cover. He didn't go right through with the shot as he did in the first over, and Van Beeren put that chance down.
Yeah, ball sticking in the surface a little
Price
bit.
Fielding on the bounce.
Ball's just holding up in the surface. It can do this at Bristol at times, especially in drier conditions.
Payne's got mid on and mid off on the edge of the circle, and Vince goes aerial. Now that could be out. It should be out, and it is taken at mid off.
Hammond.
It is Hammond under the hat, and Vince goes. It went up a very long way, but it's an important wicket, a second wicket for David Payne, there's the rerun. Hammond safely taking it, and there's Ollie Price's jubilant celebration. They know that in the context of the game, given Vince's record in this competition, that is a big wicket. 9 for 2 in the third.
Certainly is, and that is pressure. Shaw and Payne hunting in packs and just bowling dot balls, and forces James Vince to go aerial, and he holds out to Miles Hammond. You said about the ball just sticking in the pitch. The ball before he checked, and he went through with it at that time, and it's just gone straight up in the air. So it's interesting to see how it goes. The other thing I want to point out is Ben Charlesworth out on the deep boundary. He looks like one of the kids from Fame, Ian. All he needs are pink leg warmers as well. And at the moment with Hampshire 9 for 2, Friday night's going to be all right, as Ben Charlesworth would say.
Joe Weatherly's coming at number 4. He is an underrated cricketer in my opinion. Here is Payne into bowl to him, and that also may have just stopped a little bit in the pitch, because Weatherly was through that a bit early, and it went in the air initially, out on the offside.
Payne's bowling cutters here though. He's rolling his fingers over it, allowing the ball to grip. If we watch Payne here next ball, I want to see if it comes out the fingers or whether it's a cutter and he's rolling the fingers over it.
Last ball of the third over, 2 wickets already for David Payne. Dropped away by Weatherly, and he'll get a single down to Darcy Short on the boundary at backward points. It's a good start for Gloucestershire and for Payne in particular. He's got both wickets, and 2 for 6 from 2 overs. Hampshire 10 for 2. He's an unfussy player, Joe Weatherly, isn't he? He's just somebody who would come in this situation and not be flustered about it at all.
No, he's been at Hampshire a long time. He's still not that old, Weatherly. What was he, 27?
28?
28. But he's been there since he was a kid, hasn't he? And he is an experienced guy now in all formats. And yeah, he won't be fussed. We've got a bowling change. We'd had this at Canterbury the other night where Josh Shaw bowls one, and then Matt Taylor bowls the second one from the end. So Jack Taylor just ringing the changes amongst his troops as Matt comes in. Driven handsomely, but only to Ollie Price at extra cover, who gets his fingers warmed up but makes a good stop.
Some of the crowd thought that might have been a catch, but I think it
went
into the ground first. And we should also say that the mound stand is now a lot fuller than it was 20 minutes before the start. I think that does indicate people struggling traffic-wise on a Friday to get to the ground for 7 o'clock.
Yep. Taylor, 4, and clipped out to Darcy Shaw out at deep square. Do you know how I knew that wasn't a catch, Ian?
Because Ollie Price didn't celebrate?
Because Ollie Price didn't dropped it. He doesn't drop catches.
Closer playing the test. India 359 for 3.
Oh my good God.
Off 85 overs.
Oh my word.
Should just mention that.
I saw Jaiswal got a ton earlier.
Gill as well.
That's clever. That's almost gone for 6, actually. A ramp shot there from Albert. Just goes across his stumps, flicks it over his shoulder, and just drops short of the Ashley Down Road end boundary. And that's intelligent cricket from the Basingstoke lad.
That's the end you try that shot, isn't it? Because it's the shorter boundary, it's where you're able to get value. But he very nearly got 6 for it. Only just short.
Actually, it was 6. It was 6. Driven, and that could be 4 runs as well. Charlesworth gets a fingertip on it, but can't stop it going away to the boundary. And Albert's on the charge here, counter-attacking.
Did Richard Illingworth change his signal? Because I was convinced he was going to give it as a 4, and I looked at the replay on the screen and then didn't see his actual live signal. So
well, we had 1 out to Darcy Short, and then because the score at the beginning of the over was 10 for 2, and then it's gone 6-4. So yeah, it is a 6. Yeah, it was a 6. Taylor, driven by Albert up to Miles Hammond, who attacks the ball and cuts off the single. Every run in the power play is, every ball, a dot ball is a hot ball, Ian.
Yes, you get one more wicket in the power play. Gloucestershire will think that's a very good effort.
Full, Taylor gets it, as Mark Lane calls it, in the hole. Bowls a Yorker. They call it in the hole. To nick a golfing term. But 12 off the over, but it's still a good start here for Gloucestershire. 22 for 2 at the end of the fourth.
2 men out so far, both the openers, and therefore Hampshire having to just steady the ship a little bit. Pretorius caught by Short off Payne for 1, Vince caught by Hammond off Payne for 7. Is he going to have one more? The answer is no, because Josh Shaw's going to change ends and have an over now from the Ashley Down Road end. He's got 3 in front of square, saving a single on the offside, and that will be 4 because they're going to pull Short up to the edge of the circle. Shaw then in, and Toby Albert can't squeeze him away on the leg side. So the field for Shaw on the leg side in front of square is only manned by Van Beeren and Jack Taylor. Charlesworth is just in front of the umpire at deep square, so he's got the boundary work to do. And Shaw to the tall figure of Albert, who stands with his bat raised quite a long way up, and he'll get a single all the way out to Charlesworth as he works that past a big gap to Van Beeren's right. One more to the total, but this is a tight start. There's a lot of chat earlier in the group about Gloucestershire not getting real platforms in the power play, sort of getting in the 30s, but not much further than that. That's where they'd want to restrict Hampshire to tonight if they can. Shaw into Weatherly, half an appeal for a leg before. It looked far too high from our vantage point, which has Shaw coming towards us, but they've scampered through for one more. There's another look at it. I was going down the leg side anyway.
See, all my old gags about tightness are gone now, because, you know, he used to sort of say, oh, tighter than Ian Randall at the barn. He bought me a coffee on Sunday, and he's ruined all my gags.
It's only taken me 3 years. Shaw from the Ashley Red end, shorter or slower ball, and punched away by Albert for 4. He's found the gap. Shaw trying for the variation in pace, but it was picked by Toby Albert, and once it got past Van Beeren, it was always going to run away to that shorter boundary up towards the apartments. And a welcome boundary for the Hawks, 26 for 2. But still, it's a sluggish sort of start at the moment. Shaw again, and Albert will drive up towards mid-off. They won't get a single there. Good stop from Miles Hammond. Would sluggish describe the pitch, Dan? Would that be a bit harsh?
I think it's a little bit of like a sticky dog. You know, like Brisbane used to get, like when it got really hot at Brisbane, it used to be like a sticky dog, and it sort of seems that sort of surface is just sticking in the wicket a little bit.
Short bustles in once more, and really wound himself up there, did Toby Albert, but again he's hit it straight to Miles Hammond. So only 4 off the over, only the boundary, and Josh Shaw's done a tidy job for his skipper so far. Hasn't taken a wicket, but Payne 2 overs, 2 for 6. Shaw 2 overs for 10, and Matt Taylor 1 over for 10. Payne's going to come back and have one more over in the power play here. He will finish it off And I think that's Jack Taylor saying, right, you know, we know that if we can get one of these two, we'll really have a chance of bossing this game.
Yeah, good Yorkshire qualities from Josh Shaw there. Giving knout for knout. So Payne's going to come back in. Isn't it lovely? Everyone's in pink. All the players' families are down below us. The wives of the players all getting on. It shows what a good family club Gloucestershire County Cricket Club are. It really is lovely.
A lot of pink in the crowd tonight.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's played up to Hammond at mid-off, and they scamper through for a little single. Hammond's just limping there. Hope he's okay. Just limping after that. Hope he hasn't done a hammy or anything like that. But yeah, it goes to show. I had a chat with Andy Brassington earlier, who played obviously a lot with David Lawrence. Lawrence becoming the first black British-born cricketer to play for England. Took 687 wickets in his career. Payne in, a little bit of extra bounce there. He's got to be quick here. There could be a run out. He's got to be close, but not out. Albert had to get his skates on there, but gets home with a dive and a direct hit from Van Buren there. I think Albert might have been, no, he got home. A direct hit, touch and go.
Payne packing the offside for Albert in particular. Still got the short extra for Weatherly. In fact, two short extras really.
And he comes. Oh, big shout. They're trying to make, this is good captaincy here. They're going to scamper through. It's actually a run. I thought it might be a leg by, but it's a run. Payne's pushing the ball across this pair of right-handers. He's bowling to a 6-3 field. There's a big gap on the leg side, and they're trying to get him into that gap. And Payne, the old wily fox, not letting them get across. What a bowler he is in this format. Again, a big swing, no ding. Payne, 2 balls shy of his third over. He's 2 for 8 at the moment. Just got a gig in the Big Bash League as well this week.
Back with the Scorchers.
Back with the Scorchers. He's won the Vitality Blast. He's won the Big Bash. What a campaigner he is in T20 cricket. In he comes. That's cut, but only to Charlesworth, the kid from Fame. He needs a pair of pink leg warmers.
You see,
that's what he needs.
He's fielding without a hat, so the dyed pink hair would have been much better from Charlesworth than from Hammond, who's actually got a cap on.
Yeah. But Sid Lawrence, Andy Brassington spoke beautifully earlier, I thought, about him. Brassy played with Sid. Slower ball, bowls him. David Payne, the wily old fox, absolutely outsmarts Albert.
Great cricket that. Really, really clever. Albert absolutely bamboozled by that.
Absolute genius from David Payne. That's why he gets Big Bash contracts. That's why he wins tournaments.
The slower ball, when it really works like that, and there are various other ones, the Steve Harmison to Michael Clark one is the one that I always remember, often because it's on social media a lot, but that was a delightful ball in the context of when it was, etc., etc. But this, just really clever. Very, very good bit of genuine cricket from as you call him, a wily campaigner. He is, and you have to look back at that kind of decision that he probably took to say, I'm going to extend my playing career if I only play short form cricket. I can't do red ball anymore. But my goodness, that was worth the admission money on its own, that delivery tonight. Yeah,
3 for 8 from 3. David Payne's just gone through the top order. That's the power play done. 29 for 3, and Hampshire are in a spot of bother, but what a start. What a start this is from Gloucestershire, and David Payne, the architect of it.
So power play done. Here's Matt Taylor. Devault Brevis has come in at number 5. He's not facing at the moment. and because of the power play having finished, Matt Taylor's now got extra protection on the leg side. He's got Payne out at fine leg. He's got a long on, and he's got a deep square to Joe Weatherly. There's still some aggression to come in that Hampshire middle order. Matt Taylor in again to Weatherly, who forces that out on the offside. He would probably be the greater likelihood of dropping anchor, if you can have an anchor in T20 cricket. We'll get a single out to Darcy Short, and here is Devalt Brevis, who was pretty explosive at Taunton last night. Got
good player.
36 off 16 balls. He's said to bowl a bit of leg break and googly when Hampshire are in the field, but he's not bowled a great deal in this format, but he can hit a ball pretty hard. And here he is waiting for Matt Taylor. That's a defensive shot that was on the offside. Straight to the Gloucestershire skipper, who will be delighted with this start, but he'll know Hampshire of old, particularly at Southampton, where Gloucestershire have a truly awful record. Truly awful, and even here their record isn't too bad, so they'll know this game is far from done at this point. Matt Taylor in again. Brevis fires that past Jack Taylor as a chase on up towards the rope, and it will go for 4.
Wow, that outfield's so quick.
It was not a long chase for the Gloucestershire captain, but the ball won, and it will win a lot of those today once it gets beyond the discs. Unless it's going to a fielder on the rope, it's going to be a vain chase in a lot of cases. There's Jack running, as you say, towards the ball. I think he knew that even a dive there wasn't going to stop that. Brevis off the mark. Slower ball from Matt Taylor, and he's respectful to it. But we're in the 7th over, and Hampshire barely going at 5s at the moment.
Yeah, you're right about Gloucestershire's record at Southampton. I think they last won there in 2006, and you know, like the Titanic, they've soon had that sinking feeling after leaving Southampton, haven't they?
And often in games of low scores as well.
Yeah.
Taylor bounds in once more, and Brevis will just knock that out on the leg side. It'll be an easy one for Van Buren from the rope to return and just keep them down to a single. There was never more than one there anyway. And Bancroft wants the helmet. That may indicate Tom Smith isn't far from coming into the attack. In fact, here he is.
Yeah.
So 35 for 3 off 7. Pretorius for 1, Vince for 7, and Albert for 16, the men out.
Gloucestershire have got options in the spin department. They've got a nice balance actually in the fact that they've got Jack Taylor with leg spin, right arm leg spin. You've got Ollie Price with right arm off spin. Tom Smith with, what do you call him, Tommy Smith, they're the old Liverpool left back. Tom Smith with conventional slow left arm, so like bowling what is an off break left arm, and then Darcy Short bowling unorthodox left arm.
And Van Buren.
And Van Buren, how could I forget Graham Van Buren? And Miles Hammond. Here's Smith. Oh, full, and a big booming drive from Brevis. Doesn't go anywhere.
That straightened a bit too.
Yeah. His ball's gripping in this surface.
It's a fresh pitch tonight, not one that's been used previously.
Smith, that's wide, and given as a wide.
Yeah, Brevis backed away there, didn't he? Even before Smith bowled the ball. So Smith tried to say, okay, you're going to back away. I'm going to try and fire it down outside off stump, but just a bit too far outside.
Here is Smith. Big shot there. Ollie Price is under it. That's no good though, because it sails about 15 yards over his head and goes away for 4 runs down towards the club offices. That is a huge shot.
Yeah, he'll get full value for that. 6 to Brevis, and the rope is not quite out as far as it might be on this pavilion side of the ground.
Smith, he's pulled that one to Miles Hammond, long on, who makes Brevis hurry up, doesn't give him any easy singles. Gloucestershire, their fielding, I think, has improved. I thought it was a much improved performance at Canterbury the other night, and this looks like it's continuing.
I think we're going to see rotation from one end and attack from one end with these two.
Smith, 4, tossed up and swept off middle stump there by Weatherly. Smith's got his arms in the air. I think there'd have been a massive appeal for LBW if Weatherly had missed that, but he gets it out to Darcy Shaw. No, it's Josh Shaw actually out on the boundary at deep backward square. Shorts at mid wicket with Hammond at long on. Ollie Price at long off. And that's played up to long on. They're going to think about 2. They'd be wise not to take on Miles Hammond though. He's very quick across the ground, and they do settle for 1.
Brevis was in 2 minds there. I think he just played that a touch too firmly, and the question is whether Hampshire just look at the gaps and say, you know what, we're going to run hard for the next 4 or 5 overs and just try and get in with these two.
That's in the air. He's going to find the gap though, and Ollie Price can't get there. Ball just kicks off the field. We saw that last, was it one of the games I was watching in the week? I think it was Leicester, where the ball's actually bouncing over fielders' heads. We've had so little rain across the country. Parts of the southeast have had 1 day of proper rain since early April. It's going to ruin your tomatoes this year, Ian.
I haven't even bothered with those, Dan. It's ruined my lawn, I know that much.
Anyway, that's the end of the 8th. 49 for 3, Brevis 13. Weatherly much more circumspect. He's on 10 from just 11 balls.
So here's a change of strategy. Ben Charlesworth, who hasn't taken a wicket yet in the tournament, he's only bowled 4 overs, and he's going to come in from the Ashley Down Road end to try and dislodge one of these two. Brevis has got to 13 quickly. Weatherly a little bit more respectful, 10 not out, but Brevis attacking the shorter straight boundary. What can Charlesworth do here? Bowling in his headband, short and pulled by Brevis out into the deep and taken. Immediate impact, golden arm from Charlesworth. Hammond again with the catch, and what a bowling change from Jack Taylor, who'd seen something in this pitch that thought Charlesworth would be the answer, and he comes up with a wicket straight away. Not the greatest delivery, but just, as they say, it says at your club, Dan, and at my club when I used to play, look in the book.
Exactly, and Jack Taylor is a wonderful captain in many respects, and just little things like that, trying the unusual, has paid dividends there, and Ben Charlesworth takes his first wicket in T20 cricket.
First of the season.
First of the season, sorry, yeah.
I think he'd only taken 1 before. Where's my?
Yeah, he hasn't got many.
Yeah, 1. 1 at 104, 1 wicket at 145. So that'll shrink that average somewhat. Right, James Fuller, who can put bat to ball with some venom, is in for Hampshire at number 6, but at 49 for 4, they're going to be very careful here.
Yeah, Gloucestershire fans will know all about him.
Charlesworth to bowl too many almost Yorks. If he goes for the Yorker, Fuller, he plays inside the line. It's outside the off stump, it goes through to Bancroft, but Fuller would prefer to be in probably after 14 overs rather than 8. Charlesworth to bowl 2, that's just nudged away on the leg side, and they'll get a single down to David Payne. He's been a good cricketer at Hampshire, James Fuller. He's one of the few of this regular Hampshire side who actually play in both formats, because he plays regularly in the Championship as well, which a lot of this Hampshire side don't do. Charlesworth again from the Ashley Down road end, punched away by Weatherly. Thinks about a single. He won't get one because Van Buren is quickly onto it, and he fields at point. Yes, Fuller's got 18 wickets in the Championship this season, and he's got a 50 as well with the bat. In this competition, highest score 40, highest score 27 this season, and he'll trot through for a single here as Weatherly rotates the strike.
Yeah, Fuller's had a varied career, South African and New Zealand roots. He's played for Otago, Auckland, left Gloucestershire for Middlesex.
Charlesworth in, short again, pulled. That will go for 6. That's a big hit towards the marquee. And Fuller announcing his arrival with a big blow away over mid-wicket. And although Hampshire lost a wicket in that over, Fuller showed that if it's in the slot for him, he's got plenty of power there. 51 for 4 becomes 57 for 4 at the end of the over.
That's just the short arm jab. It's that's a pretty amazing shot. You can see why, you know, he's got gigs in the 100 at Birmingham Phoenix and been in the Pakistan Super League, PSL. You can see why Fuller's been all around the world in this format. Here's Tom Smith. That's in the air. Luckily he hasn't timed that because it's fallen in the gap between Charlesworth and Hammond. I think if he'd have timed that one properly, it would have gone to one of those fielders.
You know, the problem for Hampshire is 4 wickets down at halfway.
Yeah, you can see Tom Smith's getting purchased because the ball's, I'll come on to it, full and thick outside edge, dribbles away to David Payne at backward point. You can see that the ball often goes to straight down the ground or long off normally, but with the extra spin Smith's getting, it's going out towards extra cover. It's a big sweep, but Josh Shaw is the fielder. Gloucestershire will be content with ones. They won't run ones at this stage of the game at all.
Smith just having a chat with Jack Taylor. He's got 3 saving, 1 on the offside and 2 out. And then the leg side, basically, there's a massive gap if Fuller wants to try and run a 2 onto the offside.
He's quite content though just to drill one out to Ollie Price for a gentle, languid, easy single.
They might have played on a few pitches like this at Southampton where the ball is stuck like this. And, you know, people like Dawson and Howell, very difficult to get away.
Yeah.
Potentially.
That's a sweep. Smith's wanting the LBW. Richard Illingworth, a fellow slow left armer, is having none of it.
And TMJ probably asking in the most polite fashion imaginable.
Oh yeah, Tom Smith would, you know, he'd make a polite inquiry, wouldn't he? You wouldn't appeal. That's out to Ollie Price, 1 bounce, just a single. Smith bowling to his field here, clever cricket, 62 for 4 at the halfway stage, and Gloucestershire are in the box seat.
They are with 4 down, that's true. Hampshire will want to get, I think they'll want to get north of 150 here. They still think they'll think they're in the game at 150 plus, 160, 170. They'd be delighted. So basically 10 and over from this point. Now the question is, have they got the firepower to do that, especially if Weatherly stays? Here he is, and just squeezing that out on the leg side. He hasn't got to soak up too many deliveries for the aggressor at the other end. If he can almost go at a run a ball, then he's doing his job. Hammond, the fielder, off the rope. But so far. 3 wickets for David Payne, 3 for 8 from 3 overs, and Ben Charlesworth with 1 wicket in his first over. Here he is now to Fuller, slower ball. Fuller's picked it, driven it down the ground to long on. There'll only be 1. But how long in particular? I mean, Fuller's already hit 1-6. How long does Weatherly wait, I wonder, before trying and open up a bit? Charlesworth from the Ashley Down Road end. It's chopped away by Weatherly, straight to Matt Taylor.
Yeah, I think Weatherly can 15 overs, something like that, the 15 over mark. He's got to stay there. He's the glue, isn't he? He's the anchor of this innings.
You'd say so, but you know, Benny Howell and Liam Dawson can both put back to ball as well. Howell in particular, as Gloucestershire's supporters will know. Charlesworth in, that's a shorter one. Pulled away by Weatherly. He's going to get 4. No, good stop by Tom Smith on the rope. They'll come back for 2, and the throw on the bounce goes to the bowler's end. Charlesworth doesn't take it cleanly, and they'll be comfortably back. So Weatherly's still less than a run a ball, but he has at least stabilised things a little. And both these sides desperate to cling on to the coattails of the leaders in the South group. Weatherly tries to pull that away to the boundary at deep mid-wicket, doesn't make contact.
Yeah, again, Charlesworth rolling his fingers across that, allowing the ball to scoot through a little bit on this surface.
Weatherly stands tall as Charlesworth comes into bowl to him. That's gone away to Cow corner, and it should be caught, and it's gone straight to Hammond. So Weatherly getting frustrated, and Charlesworth has a 2nd wicket, and Gloucestershire, well, they have Hampshire really where they want them at the moment. They are 5 down in the 11th over. The run rate isn't great, and it's all aggression for the visitors from here.
Yeah, Hammond shelling peas there, wasn't he? Absolutely, it's like catching practice. And Charlesworth, he's a canny old bowler, isn't he? Just bowling wicket to wicket, rolling his fingers. And the famous Gloucestershire boa constrictor has come out.
Eddie Jack.
Ooh,
so a little bit of a left field pick.
He's a left-hander. I wonder if that
Jack out at number 7.
Yeah, I wonder if that's got something to do with him. I was very impressed with him. I covered the England Lions game, of which Ajit Singh Dal and Zaman Akhtar from Gloucestershire played in that. Thought he bowled well.
So Tom Smith, 2 overs for 19. Here's Van Buren into the attack.
Van Buren to Fuller, plays this off the back foot.
See, the little darts from Van Buren on this pitch might not be easy to play.
No. And he comes, that's crunched by Fuller, but only out to Charlesworth, who misfields. They think about 2, but Eddie Jack, the young 19-year-old, sends the 36-year-old Fuller back.
He's only played 4 games in T20, Eddie Jack. He's not had much chance with the bat, but he's going to have a much longer chance today perhaps than he imagined.
He's sharp. He's quite quick. I think he's got a big future ahead of him, Eddie Jack. I think he's also he's born in Barnet, Ian. So there you go. Although went to Camford School through that one. There's a big shot, and he's going to be out. First ball, called to deep backward square. Josh Shaw with the catch, and the move to promote Eddie Jack up the order hasn't worked, and Hampshire are giving Gloucestershire catching practice here.
Well, they've really picked the fielders, haven't they, tonight? Van Buren's miss in the first over, we thought that might be costly when James Vince was dropped, but they've hung on to everything else since, and it's almost as if the ball has been magnetically attracted to the fielders, because in several instances they have not had to move at all. And here's Liam Dawson coming in with Hampshire in big trouble.
Yeah, it was a bizarre decision to promote Eddie Jack above, you know, Liam Dawson or Benny Howell in the order.
So Howell will be batting at 9.
It's just, yeah. I mean, Aidy Birrell's got his reasons, and he's a very well-respected coach, but I'm sure there's a few people down on the south coast who are sort of scratching their heads at the moment. But Liam Dawson is a good cricketer with bat, ball, in the field. As he gets off the mark, first ball with 1 out to long on. From Swindon, like one of Ian Randall's old flames, Diana Dawes. Arm ball from Van Buren, just played to Jack Taylor. Extra cover, no run.
So Jack Taylor's used 2 bowlers tonight, neither of whom had taken a wicket before this evening, and they've both now got a success in the W column on the scorecard.
Yeah, that one's just tickled into the onside, the final ball, the over. And after 12 overs, Hampshire are 69 for 6, and they're in a spot of bother. Well, there's the Manhattan on your screen, and there's been a couple of big overs in there as well. There's one from Matt Taylor early on, which went for 10, and one which went for 14.
Where do Hampshire pitch their target from here? First of all,
I think they'll be happy with 130, 140.
They have to try and bat the 20 overs for a start. 8 to go.
Well, that's a crime not to bat your overs, isn't it? That's a dereliction of duty.
So Matt Taylor back into the attack. Fuller facing. And you'll get a single out to Hammond coming off the boundary at deep mid-wicket. So 40. So run a ball from here would get them to 150, 118, wouldn't it? Run a ball. 48 from here.
Yeah, sorry.
You know, 120. Let's say. They want at least 20 more than that, I would have thought, to feel they're in with a chance.
I think Gloucestershire would take anything south of 150.
Dawson, who's a gutsy competitor, he won't give it away, and he'll take a single down to Josh Shaw.
He got himself into a spot of bother here, didn't he, a few years ago, Liam Dawson? There was an incident where the crowd thought that he'd fielded the ball from beyond the boundary rope, got on his back a little bit, and then Dawson took a crucial wicket. I think it was Tom Price, and went running off to the crowd, giving him the shush sign with his hands.
Taylor round the wicket. Fuller gets on his toes and just drops it out on the onside and comfortably trots through for a single.
But Dawson played on this ground the other week for England against the West Indies. One-day international, full house here in Bristol, and
4 wickets.
Was it? I think he got 4 up at Durham actually in the game before. I can't remember actually. I'll have to look that one up.
Matt Taylor, 2 Dawson. You'll think about 2, but David Payne's come off the boundary quickly at long leg, so they'll just get 1. Not the tidiest throw to Bancroft.
But don't you think it's wonderful seeing Bristol hosting elite international sport? It's great, isn't it, Ian?
Well, there are matches here in the Women's World Cup later on. That was announced.
Yeah.
Here is Matt Taylor in. Fuller goes back, and it's bunted it past Taylor, and it's hit Dawson as he was backing up. So they couldn't. He was stretching just to make sure that the ball wasn't deflected onto the stumps. And as a result, it's a dot ball for Matt Taylor. This is his 3rd over.
Are you a fan of Hampshire's yellow pads? We'll come on to it after this ball.
Taylor in. Oh, and Fuller tries to steer it out through the offside. Can't get bat on it though. It's another scoreless delivery for the visitors at the end of the over. There is the graph on your screen, the pie chart of how the runs have been scored. And it's, yes, it's all around the ground, but they have come at a cost. Taylor's bowled 3 overs now for 20. He's got one left, and Van Buren is going to continue to the yellow padded Hampshire batters.
Here is Van Buren. It's only cut to point. Yeah, you're a man who's, you know, known for his high fashion apparel. Would you wear that sort of clobber out on Gloucester on a Friday night?
Some of that is a very striking yellow from Dawson, isn't it? Those pads.
They're like a mustard yellow, aren't they?
Yeah, as opposed to a canary yellow, which Fuller's are.
Yeah.
Different supplier, perhaps?
Oh, Dawson. Attempted cut. Van Buren's just got the sign on him here.
I mean, Dawson might be liking what he's seeing from the pitch here.
Yeah, I bet he's licking his lips. It's again pushed to extra cover. Van Buren, as he does, gets just into the zone, bowls his overs really quickly, and before you know it, he's bowled another maiden. That's going to be one, but Gloucestershire won't mind ones at this stage of the game. Van Buren's bowled 11 balls, 1 for 4, and it's not bad going, is it? It's played out to long on. Hammond does the fielding, cuts off the 2. Gloucestershire are on the squeeze.
So
and it's Hampshire who are up the junction.
It was 29 for 3 after the power play, 62 for 4 after 10 overs. So they've scored 13 for 2 overs 10 to 14. I mean, that is miserly in T20 terms.
But you've got to credit Jack Taylor. I mean, when you've got Ollie Price on your side and Darcy Shaw, and yet he's bowled Charlesworth and Graham Van Buren, and he's gone for the unusual, and you have to credit Jack Taylor's captaincy there.
Here is Shaw back into the attack. Oh, that was well, it's gone for 4 straight down the ground. I wonder whether Shaw even got a fingertip onto that drive from Fuller.
That's serious timing. That is power and timing all into one, and that ball, I reckon, has taken about a second to get to the boundary.
He didn't get anything on it at all. It went very, very quickly. Fuller waits then, batting deep in his crease. Shaw to him, and back down the pitch on the bounce Shaw fields. Yes, so Charlesworth and Van Buren have bowled 4 overs between them, so one bowler's allocation, you might argue. They've taken 3 for 16. So that might mean Smith, Matt Taylor, Shaw and Payne finish the innings. Here is Shaw from the Ashley Down Road end. Shaw, Fuller's hit that high into the air. Will it drop safe? It will. No, it won't. That's Ollie Price coming in off the rope. I thought Hammond was not going to reach it, but Ollie Price has sprinted in and taken another good catch. Fuller goes. 79 for 7, Hampshire.
Oh, Ollie Price is just box office, isn't he? He's absolute box office with bat, with ball, and in the field. I mean, he's just pulling catch after catch off week in, week out.
Very good one here in the game against Glamorgan. That was actually a little bit easier, but it was still well judged, and my apologies to him, because I looked at Hammond. Hammond stopped, and it looked as if he thought he was not going to reach the ball, but Price hadn't given up. Whether there was a call between the two, I suspect there was, and Ollie Price takes the catch, and here comes Benny Howell out in at number 9 with just under 6 overs to go.
I thought he batted really well the other night. Jack Taylor got the plaudits for his 50, and rightly so, but Ollie Price kept him company, and although he's only 23, well, he's just turned 24, isn't he, Ollie Price? But he's got a real maturity about him.
Well, Benny Howell would like more than 79 on the board, but this is about the kind of time where he can come in and still play some shots.
Yeah, he can. I thought Josh Shaw deserved that wicket.
Shaw then to Howell. He just works that onto the onside off his hip for a single. There'll be a bit of banter out there with Gloucestershire players who have been here long enough to remember Howell's time at the club.
I believe some of them are related as well.
So there you are, Dawson, 4 off 11. Sorry, 4 off 11 on my screen, 4 off 7 it was. There's not a lot of the strike. Short into bowl 2 and a top edge might go for 4, but it's going to be cut off by Matt Taylor. The ball, as it dropped to the ground, appeared to lose any pace there might have been on it, and Dawson gets another single. Here's the replay. He's got it off the back of the bat.
Bancroft slipped. He was wrong-footed. If he'd have stayed there, he might have got across. I mean, it would have been a difficult chance, but just slipped at the crucial moment. How Gloucestershire would love just to winkle one more out before it gets to the crunch final overs.
Howell just asking if Shaw can wait. Now he's ready. Shaw to bowl to him. That's not timed, out on the offside and fielded mid-off by Thomas Smith, but Shaw's now bowled 3 overs for 16. There are the bowling figures. It's an impressive set from Gloucestershire tonight, and it's looked a very good toss for them to win. They've caught everything, with the exception of Van Beeren's chance off James Vince in the first over, but since then everything has stopped for them, and they've got Hampshire really under the pump at 82 for 7.
Yeah, but there's 2 very dangerous customers out there in Benny Howe, Liam Dawson, experienced campaigners. The job's not done yet. Van Beeren to Howe, who uses experience. He's going to pick up the singles. I think now Hampshire Hawks need just to pick up what they can.
It's going to be a small chase, isn't it? Relatively. Yeah, but you know, I've seen these go wrong as well. So what is Gloucestershire's approach to go hard at it at the outset? Because you try and break the back of it early, don't you? Push to extra cover. Last thing you want to do is get bogged down chasing 130.
Yeah. That's a big drive. Goes out to Ollie Price. They're going to look for 2. Not to him. Quickly and off the boundary. Fast, flat throw. And
we should say that we do expect Darcy Short to open tonight with Miles Hammond, as he did on Wednesday.
Yeah. It's played over the top. That could be 4 runs. He's found the gap beautifully. Precision placement there from Howe. And that's an intelligent cricket shot.
Yeah, he will know the pockets and the areas of this ground where you can score. He's been played here for a good slug of his career.
Yeah, I believe there's another brother in the Howe family as well. That's up in the air. He's going to get 4 more there. This is very clever cricket from Benny Howe, rebuilding. There's another, I think he's got a brother who was one of the top real tennis players in the world back in the day. Benny Howe.
And I think also right in saying that Matt Windows on the Gloucestershire Cricket Committee is a very good real tennis player.
There's not many real tennis courts, are there? There's one at Lord's, one at Hampton Court. Smashed out to extra cover to Ben Charlesworth, who's fielding in a high fidelity headband there, and that completes the over. 93 for 7, 4 to go for the Hawks to fly high. So at the moment they're not really getting up in the air.
Well, there's the worm, which shows the way that the scoring has gone for Hampshire in this innings. There's been one over that's cost 14. That was the 8th. That's really the only very expensive one that Gloucestershire have suffered. Matt Taylor is going to bowl the 17th over. From the Ashley Down Road end, his old mucker Benny Howell, who drives straight down the ground, will only get one, up to long on. But Hampshire have had enough experience with some players in this competition, the likes of these two and James Vince in particular. Taylor in, it's pulled away, could be caught, brilliantly caught. Hammond again. That was a really fiercely struck shot away into the leg side off Taylor, but Hammond, another catch coming in from deep mid-wicket. And Hampshire are 8 down, and Hammond now has 4 catches. And it's another wicket, this time for Matt Taylor.
Yeah, that's outstanding from Miles Hammond. Get those wrong, you're visiting the dentist. Bravery. Flat and hard, diving forward, and they can often bounce just before you and smash up into your face.
And you've got to be very careful too in terms of how you tumble to the ground with those, because if the elbow hits the ground too hard, the ball bounces out.
Yeah.
Not for Hammond though. He allowed the shoulder to take the body weight. He's got 4 catches now tonight. And the Hampshire card doesn't have a score of 20 in it yet.
Chris Wood, new batter.
Looks like the Howell couldn't get there.
It's not a Nottingham Forest centre forward.
So Scott Curry will be in at 11 if necessary. But here is the tall figure of Chris Wood waiting for Matt Taylor into bowl 2. He just drops it down onto the onside and there's no run. You don't see many sides bowled out for this sort of number, do you? Not batting first.
No.
Sometimes batting second if they've got a really big chase and they get it wrong at the outset and it all falls to pieces a bit, but batting first not very often. Matt Taylor again to Wood, and oh, he's got 4 very cheap runs there. In fact, he hasn't got anything on it at all. It's buys. Beat him, beat Bancroft down towards the pavilion. It'll say 4 buys in the book, but perhaps the Bancroft will feel he should have taken. The ball did die on a little bit just in front of him, but would have wanted to have kept the buys total down. Here is Taylor again, and Wood will get a single off the bat this time. Out to Darcy Short in front of the mound stand. It'll be very warm out there tonight. I think my temperature in the car is 31 when I pulled up at the ground today.
Yeah, it's whether to get the Mankini out in, Ian.
So it should be Matt Taylor's last ball if it's not a no ball, and he'll concede 1 to Benny Howell, who'll keep the strike, and he'll finish with 1 for 23. And Hampshire are 100 for 8, 100 up. They've only got 3 overs left, and it'll be get what you can from here.
Yeah, there's the card in front of you on your screen, and you'll see that the middle order there, of course, starts Albert 16, Weatherly 18, Brevis 13, Fuller 17. But Gloucestershire just putting the squeeze on and just not allowing the Hawks to get going.
So Shaw's got 1 over left, Payne's got 1 over left, and Jack Taylor's got to find one from somewhere else.
You listen to me, Dan Whiting, with Ian Randall here on Gloss Cricket TV. As the Hampshire Hawks have just got to 100, but they've lost 8 wickets. Shaw in. And again into the body. Howell going for the big shot into the leg side. I think Gloucestershire might be happy to allow Benny Howell the one here.
More than likely. Chris Wood, he has got a 31 somewhere in his back catalogue in the T20 cricket, but by and large he doesn't bat all that much.
That's in the air. Has that gone all the way? No. Hammond again takes his 5th catch of the innings. It's like a magnet.
And with Howell going, and Howell's just said to Wood, kind of, what else can I do? And that's very true in this situation. But Hammond has, but people will be searching for records of an outfield player other than apparently a world record who's just been announced over the public address of
joint world record for Miles Hammond.
For 5 catches by an outfield player, non-keeper, in a single innings.
And all on the boundary as well. All like either a long on or deep mid-wicket.
Well, I think Payne will bowl the 19th over if it gets that far. Scott Crow's come in at number 11.
Josh Shaw into Curry. It's a dot ball.
The question is this a very poor Hampshire batting display? Is it a very good Gloucestershire bowling display, or is it just a very difficult pitch?
No, I think this, in the 4 years that I've covered Gloucestershire, I think this is the best bowling and fielding display I've ever seen from it in T20 cricket. I'll go that far. As Rogan Josh Shaw gets Curry off the mark. I'm out of here, I'm gone.
And the thing is that we are just over 2 overs from the end, but you haven't got a batter and a tail ender in. You've got numbers 10 and 11, and that's exactly what Gloucestershire would want.
Yeah,
in
but
this
they won't want to be chasing 120 now. They want to get the job done here. Yeah, all it needs in T20, a few swings of the bat, come off. Shaw. Wood tickles that one out to deep square.
And so to go back to the point earlier on he made about the power plays, Gloucestershire don't want 34 for no wicket. Well, okay, 34 for no wicket might be all right, but you don't want 36 for 2 after the power play, because Hampshire will still be in the game then.
Yeah. I think Short will play one way. I think he'll go for it in the power play, and if they can break the back of the chase. Shaw to Curry, just onto his hip.
And I think that's what you have to do with a total like this.
Break the back of it.
Try to.
Yeah. In the over, 103 for 9. Josh Shaw finishes his 4 overs, 2 for 19. He's been absolutely outstanding, and he goes to show Gloucestershire were really missing him, weren't they? In that, he was out injured start of the season, missed the first 5 games. Gloucestershire lost them all, and there was no Josh Shaw in the side, and he is a crucial member of this side.
It will be Payne to bowl the 19th over. Don't leave it to the end.
So who's going to bowl the 20th?
Well,
Charlesworth?
Not sure.
It's not going to be a spinner, is it? It's going to be Charlesworth.
Payne will hope that's not necessary. He is to bowl to Curry. And Curry will take a single out on the onside. He might take 2 actually here, but Payne's chasing his own delivery, and he keeps them down just to 1. Field for the 2 tail enders is a deep square, a fine leg, both right-handers of course. the magnetic Hammond on the edge just outside of the circle at mid-wicket, and long on also 10 yards in from the rope. Where's Hammond going to go? Is he coming in? He's coming in for the miscue.
Jack Longstaff's been in touch, used to work for the club, and says, remind Dan of the bowling display against Warwickshire in the quarter-finals last year. I'd say this is on a par.
Payne around the wicket to Wood. He will get a single, yes he will. If Hammond does the chasing across from mid-wicket.
I think that display against Warwickshire, the outfield was like a lot slower. There's a lot of dew that night, wasn't there? And a lot of it was a misty, murky night in September. This outfield is lightning. And yeah, I think the bowling display here is probably on a par with Warwickshire in the quarter-final.
Payne will want to finish this off in the 19th over. Can he do it here? Oh, he can't. And very nearly.
6.
Another catch for Hammond, which would have broken all records. But he stopped it at short mid-wicket, and Curry remains on the strike. 9 balls to go in the Hampshire innings. They're not going to have a lot to bowl at here. Payne in, and a slower ball, which Curry doesn't read. And he plays the shot too soon, it just drops out on the offside. So I think the batting order will be Hammond, Short, Bancroft, top 3. And then
the engine room, Price, Taylor, Charlesworth.
Van Buren at 7. Payne again to Curry, 19th over, and Curry goes aerial and gets 6. That's a good hit down there. It's almost off the back foot. He just stood up and punched it away to that short straight boundary at long on. He's beaten Ollie Price, who's on the rope, and he's gone into the covers that go on the square when there is any rain around, which hasn't been obviously for quite a long time.
He's just bullied that over the boundary, isn't he?
It's a hoik, isn't it, really? Payne again in, and it's pulled by Curry away to the mid-wicket boundary, and Charlesworth can't stop it. It's gone for 4, despite a dive from him. So 2 big blows from Curry in the 19th over.
Yeah,
so Payne finishes with 3 wickets, but he doesn't finish the job, and Gloucestershire are going to find someone to bowl the last over, and I think it might be Tom Smith.
Yeah, David Payne has just conceded the same amount of runs in the last 2 balls of his spell there that he'd conceded in the previous 22 balls. So he finishes 3 for 20. Still a magnificent effort, and he was the catalyst by removing Pretorius Vince and Albert at the top of the order that started this Hampshire collapse. So Tom Smith, final over, 115 for 9. That's 4. Straight over extra cover. I'm not sure you can give that sort of width really to allow Wood to get his levers going.
Ollie Price is away on the boundary at wide long off. Jack Taylor's on the edge of the circle, so Wood is trying to go into the gap over Taylor's head effectively.
Smith. That's in the air. Just goes to Hammond, who hurls the ball in one bounce, and they scamper through for 2.
They were 100 for 9 when Howell was out, so...
We said they don't want to be getting over 120, and they've got over 120. This is good resistance from Curry and Wood. That's in the air. One bounce to Charlesworth, who has to watch it, watch the spin. Another one. One's all right. 122 for 9. It's been very good from Gloucestershire. Right through.
I still think, I mean, the wickets have fallen steadily rather than in clumps, haven't they?
Yeah. Smith. That's up in the air, but falls short of Ollie Price. It was a little bit of a pitching wedge.
Hampshire will have to bowl well, you think, to
Yeah, but in Benny Howell,
give themselves a chance on this.
Big shot, goes, smashes into the pad, thick inside edge. Yeah, I think the bowlers on this will be Benny Howell and Dawson. I think, you know, Eddie Jack and the extra pace could be playing to Gloucestershire's hands possibly.
Fuller's quite clever too with the slower ball.
Yeah. Smith.
Lost his run, I think.
Has he lost his run, or did you see the batter move and just thought he'd just stop there? In he comes. Big appeal, and that is that out, stumped off a wide. It's a wide, and it's not out. So the Hawks innings isn't ended by the man with a hand in glove, Cameron Bancroft. That's down the leg side. That's going to be. That's not a wide. That must have flicked the pad.
And he's conceded 9 in the end off that last over, Tom Smith. So, in the big scheme of things, quite expensive. But over, if someone had offered Jack Taylor 124 for 9 for Hampshire at the start of their innings, when the players walked out at 5 minutes to 7, I think he would have taken that. Nobody in the Hampshire team got to 20, albeit there were 7 scores in double figures. But Gloucestershire had the bonus of a wicket in the first over. They took 2 more in the power play, and they kept chipping away through the Hampshire order because Hampshire kept giving Miles Hammond catching practice. 5 catches for Hammond. Only Toby Albert was bowled. That was a great bit of cricket from David Payne with the slower ball. But other than that, it was Hampshire finding the Gloucestershire fielders. Yeah,
Miles Hammond equaling a world record with 5 catches out on the boundary. But I thought it was really good captaincy from Jack Taylor as well. What remains to be seen now is whether Gloucestershire can get these runs.
Payne 3 for 20, Shaw 2 for 19, Matt Taylor 1 for 23, Ben Charlesworth 2 for 11, Graham van Buren 1 for 16, the wicket takers. Tom Smith 3 overs, cost 28. We'll be back with you in about 10 minutes time for the Gloucestershire chase. They need a little over a run a ball in this match here at the St Unique Stadium to get a second win in the Vitality Blast.
teams. On the side here we've got MATCHDAY, they're representatives from the Motor Neurone Disease Association. Max and Kyra, they're taking the inside leg here for the Thatchers Apple Roll. And then here on the inner lane we've got brothers Ben and Sam. Now, Ben is going to take the second leg, and I'm told it's his 21st birthday tomorrow, so big pressure on Ben to win a case of Thatcher's Rosé. Normally Thatcher's Gold, but of course, it's all pink tonight. So, Thatcher's Apple Roll, are we ready? Give them all your support in 3, 2, 1, let's go! So Sam and Max taking the first legs. Almost a leg spinners action there from Max, very impressive. Max has turned well, MATCHDAY doing well so far. Team Harris, they're lagging behind with this crucial changeover. Here we go, Kyra off to a good start. There goes Sam. Oh, bit of an ooh from the crowd there as Sam takes the lead. Sam's in the lead as they close in. Bit of a wind. Oh, the cricket's here with a push there. It's still Sam's race to win. But Kyra, come on Kyra, you're doing well. But it looks like Team Harris, the birthday boy, has sealed it. It's not gone down well. It's, not gone down particularly well there. Alfred, you're not happy with that. We need a security inquiry. What's happened? The crowd not happy?
Well, I can understand it. We both got our back. We bought our shirts. It was slow start, but turned around well.
Yeah, thanks for buying the shirts. All the proceeds go to the MLB Association. Happy 21st tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well done, guys. You won a slab of Thatchers Rosé, so many congratulations. Thanks ever so much. So, yeah, it was good. Very good fun. Very good fun. Crowd didn't like it, but there we go. Hopefully you like Gloucestershire potentially winning tonight. 125 they need to win. Now, a couple of things before we go to the run chase. Let's hear from the man himself. We're turning in big percent tonight in honour of club president David Sidlowitz, MBE, who was struck down with a diagnosis last summer of MND. We recorded a message with the great man today. We're going to play it now. He had an incredible career here at Gloucestershire. Everyone here is behind you, Sid. The family are here tonight, and here's a message from David Sidlowitz, MBE, to all of you.
Everyone for being here today on this beautiful, we are not all here to watch my Gloucestershire get the victory and also hopefully raise some money and the West cause really close to my heart. Family, everything has been my biggest challenge ever faced, and punishment has no limits, but we must try our best to carry on fighting and find the cure for future people and families who unfortunately will have to do the same battle I have now. Thank you again, Gloucestershire. And everyone who has been a part of today, putting on clean forces and being so many friends for the occasion. Each way you can donate to this great cause and thank the MND Association has taught me so much in life, and I am forever grateful. Love to everyone, and let's enjoy the Gloucester win. Love, peace.
Tamara was diagnosed with terminal MND at just 26 years of age. Her life changed dramatically from being active and full of plans to facing a prognosis of only 1 to 3 years. Please let's listen to Tamara's powerful and moving story.
On the 15th of November 2016, I received a call from my mother asking if I could attend an appointment that day for her to have a I remember being happy
We're not long for the resumption here at the Seat Unique Stadium. It is Pink for Sid evening. If you do want to get involved with a donation, by the way, there is a way you can do it through your mobile phone. You can text MND SID, SYD, to 70085, and that will donate £5 to the MND Association. If you do want to support the work that has been helpful, I think, in the diagnosis of Sid's condition and also the ongoing research which is necessary. You can all, I'm sure, think of other famous people, both in the sporting world, as in Doddy Weir, for example, or outside of the world of sport but entertainment in a wider sense, who have either suffered or know people who have suffered with the condition. Jack Santry and Richard Illingworth are back on their way for the chase here, and Gloucestershire's target is 125 in 20 overs. Dan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I do. I just want to say well done to the staff here at Gloucestershire County Cricket Club for putting on this evening. There's been a lot of hard work that goes into evenings like this, and it's not one person individually, it's been a collective team effort from all the staff that work here. But I think a special shout out needs to go out to sort of Elliot Lake and Harvey Matchin as well in the office, and they've been absolutely fantastic. But it's been a real collective, and you know, I'm sure the Lawrence family are thrilled with what's gone on tonight here.
And just to say too, visit the pink shirts. If you haven't got one but you do want one, if you contact Gloucestershire, you can pre-order a pink shirt from tonight. You need to pay for it ahead. The club will then draw a line at some point in the future, next week maybe. I haven't got the date to hand, but at that stage the pre-ordered shirts will then be made and supplied. So it is Darcy Shaw and Miles Hammond who are opening up, and it will be Chris Wood to open the bowling for Hampshire from the Ashley Down Rodan. They don't have a massive target to play with here, so how do Gloucestershire attack this modest score? Do they try and go hard in the power play and try and break the back of it so that they can play what you might call low risk cricket later on? That surely has to be the preferred approach.
Yeah, I think so. I think that these two batted pretty well in the power play at Canterbury the other night, but I think it's also a surface where you can't just play shots willy-nilly. I think you have to actually pick your balls.
Hammond, with 5 catches already in the match, waits for Wood, and that's outside the off stump. And it's what Jack Santry says, it's not a wide, but that would have been perilously close, I would have thought.
Yeah, Jack Santry, one of the best umpires on the circuit, which is quite ironic really, because he was a bit of a chap when he played, but he's a real poacher turned gamekeeper, isn't he?
Wood's got Albert at slip, force everyone on the offside. Runs in and Hammond tries to pierce the gap, and he does pierce the gap. That'll be a runaway extra cover for 4, crosses the rope now. And he gets a tap of the gloves from Darcy Short, because it's a nice way to get off the mark.
What a gorgeous shot that is.
Out to the sand-coloured marquee, which is over in the far corner. I think that's staying in, Jimmer would tell me, that's staying in place for the Women's International. Yeah, he's nodding at me. Wood from the far end to Hammond, who defends. So Gloucestershire basically need a runner ball. And they'll be almost there. 125 the target. Your first sort of guide. Hampshire had 29 off the power play, and they were 3 wickets down as well at that point. So,
do you think it's too early in the season for Gloucestershire to have one eye on the net run rate as well?
I'll come back to that. Wood in. Hammond tries to flash that away through the offside, doesn't get a touch. I think that would be in the back of their minds if they were able to get a good start. Then I think they would think about the net run rate.
Yeah,
because they're in a big negative net run rate position themselves at the moment.
they are. Yeah, yeah.
So they've got to claw that back somewhere. This might be an opportunity. Wood in. Hammond crunches that straight to Fuller at point. There is no run. And Hammond so far has faced all the deliveries in this first over of the chase. Lovely evening in Bristol. There was a little bit of shade on the Kennington Avenue side, and there are some spectators who are taking the opportunity just to stand out of the direct sun. Wood in. Hammond straight again to the fielder at short extra. That's Benny Howell, and just the boundary then in Wood's first over, but a good shot it was, and at least Hammond is off and running.
Yeah, both sides finished the first over with 4 on the board, but Gloucestershire have got no collateral damage, whereas Hampshire at this point had lost Leandre Pretorius.
Scott Curry is going to open from this pavilion end. He spent a lot of last season on loan at Leicestershire, but is a regular fixture in the Hampshire T20 side. 65 wickets at 20 is not too shabby, is it?
No, it's very good. And he comes, and Short just chops that one down. Callie Barlow's been in touch. He's hoping to see the glorious Gloucesters with a win.
Don't forget, it's championship cricket here on Sunday. Start of a 4-day game against the still unbeaten Derbyshire.
That's onto the hip, and Short doesn't miss out on opportunities like that. Just helps it on its way around the corner, and it runs away down to clear a corner for 4 runs.
Well, that's the shortest boundary on the ground. And Curry, if he didn't know before, will know that that ball races away if he's going to put that on leg stump to Short.
And he almost gets driven through the covers there, trying to overcompensate and giving Short a bit of width, but the ball only finds... That's a substitute, or is that Brevis?
It's Benny Howell out there.
Oh, it's Powell, extra cover, yeah. Curry, slower ball. Short watches it all the way, and just tickled in the leg side for a single.
You've got the, if you like, the masters of variation in Howell and Fuller. I would suggest they are the 2 boxes of tricks for the quicker bowlers for Hampshire.
Here comes Curry, just the quicker one there. He won't want to go for runs like Josh Shaw being a Yorkshireman. Curry's Scottish.
Yeah, Brevis is at orthodox 0.4. Miles Hammond, he's just behind the square, and there is a man out in front of the scoreboard on the rope. That's the cover.
Just worked into the offside there by Hammond. No run after 2 overs. The glorious Gloucesters are 9 without loss.
Tighter line from Curry at the end of the over. Once he had that one loose delivery, he worked out that if he almost just bowled wicket to wicket for short. He could try and at least keep him quiet. And Wood is going to continue from the Ashley Down Road. And James Vince captaining the side from mid-off. And Short now down at Wood's end for the first time. Still the slip in. Wood passed on by Chantry, and Short works that away into the gap on the onside. There is Joe Weatherly out on the deep square leg boundary, so there'll only be one run.
I'm wondering if this pitch might come on more under lights. Sometimes they do, don't they?
Well, it's Gloucestershire's call what to do tonight. They won the toss. They decided they'd rather chase. Wood into Hammer. That's chopped. He'll certainly get one, but that's all he'll get because Eddie Jack is on the rope at a deep point.
He's got a good arm on him, hasn't he, Eddie Jack?
Throw in quickly. He'll just take one.
Yeah, Camford School, where Eddie Jack's been, has been a good sort of talent pool for Hampshire to fish in. Matthew Keach, the old Hampshire player, I think is the cricket master there.
Wood staying over the wicket, and Short won't get a run there because that's just played off the back foot straight up to James Vince at mid-off.
Felix Organ is another one who's come through that route.
He's done well in the championship.
His track record with the ball at the Utility Bowl, I think, is the best ever on that ground that's taken X amount of wickets, and that includes Shane Warne. Or it was until last season.
Wood will try to roll the slower one to Darcy Short, but he didn't quite pick it, drove it into the ground, straight to Benny Howell. Howell and Brevis are the two men covering in front of square on the offside. There's a third dropping in there now. So you've got a straightish extra cover, a cover and a point all inside the circle. And Short can't get that away. That's gone up to mid-on. Well, that's Dawson, I think. And again, it's no run. So only 3 singles off this Wood over. You have to be a little bit careful not to get stuck in this chase. Get a bit rooted at the start. Steered away by Short, but straight to the man at short third man, who is James Fuller. So tidy stuff from Wood. It was driven by Hammond in the first over, but he's only conceded 3 singles since then.
Yeah, good stuff from Chris Wood. Backed up by Scott Curry. Hampshire, and then just roll over. They're a competitive side, aren't they? And Gloucestershire just trying not to lose too many wickets. They're still ahead of Hampshire at this stage. 12 without loss compared to 10 for 2. But Dawson and Benny Howell will be very hard to get away on here. That's up in the air, and it's 6 runs to Miles Hammond. That flick off the legs, and Eddie Jack has to go under the television gantry. It's been erected over on the Kennington Avenue side of the ground and retrieve the ball. I thought he'd put that straight down Eddie Jack's throat at one point, but Jack's just backward of square, and he's got that well in front. Ooh, Hammond just having to change his shot there. An off cutter from Curry. Foxed Hammond. He was looking to go big.
Stepped away, didn't he?
Yeah, he was looking to go big again. And ball just stuck in the pitch, and Hammond had to check his shot. That's big from Hammond. I think he's got enough of it to get it over the fielder, but not enough to go for 4 as Fuller is in pursuit, and they'll scramble 2. So it looks like Hammond's on the charge here.
Timing is not straightforward.
No. It's a bit like the engine of your car, Ian.
And there's a combination of 3 things there. One is the bowling.
Curry. 4 runs off the pad, possibly. No, runs. It's a little feather around the corner. And Pretorius can't get across to it. Go on, you were saying 3 things?
3 things. So, 1, the bowling. 2, actually the judgment of the pace of the pitch.
Hammond just hits one round the corner. They're going to finish the over. No, they're not, because I can't count to 6.
And the third thing is probably that if this was a longer game, you might find batters had more time to assess the pitch and feel they were in. But because it's a T20, you're impatient.
Again, slower ball, and again watched by Short, who plays it out to deep point. Gloucestershire finish the over on 25 without loss.
That's a good over, because that's 13 off the over. Just only need a couple of those to really change the picture of the game in terms of the target. And we're going to see Eddie Jack. This might be a relevant point. Relatively inexperienced, bowling in the power play with only 2 men out.
Yeah, well, I was impressed with him. As I said, I saw him for England Lions, bowled on a real flat wicket at Canterbury, where 550 played 580 and the game fizzled out into a draw. Ajit Singh Dale played in that Zamanakda. But Jack, I thought, was pretty good in that contest.
The slipper's gone, needless to say.
But he did go in the second innings, none for 41 off 4.
So here is Jack. Into bowl to Hammond, who drives up to Vince at mid-off, no run.
In the first innings, 2 for 75 off 20 overs. Thought he bowled really well. I think he's a real prospect, Eddie Jack.
Those of us who are involved in the post-match interview roulette that comes after games, I'll come back to that in a moment. There's Jack, cut away. That should be 4 and will be 4. It was a chase round the, a trot round the rope for Toby Albert, but that was going at a fair old rate from Darcy Short. And 4 more to him. Miles Hammond doesn't do many interviews, but I think if he gets anything like a score tonight, with his 5 catches, he might well be the man of choice. Jack again to Short. Little steer this time. They'll get 1. Albert's onto it quickly, and they won't risk a second at this point.
Yeah, that's one of those. If you're chasing a big total, you put the fielder under pressure and you come back for 2. But Gloucestershire don't need to really take risks here.
30 for no wicket in the 5th. Hampshire 29 for 3 at the end of the power play, so already there is an advantage to the home side. Jack to Hammond, who tried to go down the ground, didn't make contact.
Yeah, he doesn't miss many on his legs, Miles Hammond.
And that was quite a feat earlier on today. 5 catches in a T20 match as a non-keeper. And
I've done that in club cricket.
a bit like shelling peas today.
Yeah, I've done that in club cricket, first slip.
Jack bounds in, and that's 4 more. It's Hammond's picked the gap there. That's our way through extra cover. Brevis can't cut that off, and that's raced away. And, you know, 1 boundary and over is absolutely fine for Gloucestershire at this point. And as they inch forward after a solid start, 34 for no wicket in the 5th, it gives Dawson and Howell and Fuller less to work with.
Yes, it does. You think at the end of the power play, Hampshire Hawks were 29 for 3, and we've still got 7 balls of the power play. Gloucestershire 34 without loss.
2 boundaries in this over off Jack. Hammond waits for him, and he's bowled. That's a good comeback from the young man. He's yorked Hammond for 22, so he's got Gloucestershire away, but he hasn't really made a big dent in that total. Miles Hammond walks off disappointingly. Leg stump hit by Eddie Jack, and Hammond 5 catches and 22 it will be, as the story of his evening, and Gloucestershire lose their first wicket in the 5th over on 34.
Yeah, I said he's got a bit about him. I said he's got pace, and he's yorked Hammond there, leg stump, quicker delivery, and quality bowling from the youngster. That's
So
also the end of the over.
Now Bancroft in at 3. I don't think there'll be much flamboyant aggression from Mr. Bancroft in this situation. I think this will be a ruthless, or he'll try and do it in a ruthless and relentless way, rather than a flamboyant way to get to this target.
Yeah, I mean, he tends to bat in sort of a similar style, you know. He'll get a boundary, get off the mark, and sort of get the ball after and get down the other end. That's what he tends to do. Good cricket, good sensible cricket, Cameron Bancroft.
So Wood's going to change ends and bowl the last over of the power play.
Couple of Western Australians out there. Here's Wood. Short. Drives.
I wonder which end Dawson would want to bowl from. Probably this end, the pavilion end, I would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he's bowled from the Ashley Down Road end in previous years here, but the boundary has been brought in, you know, from 2022 or 2023 when he's bowled from that end. Short goes over the top, 6 runs. He's just timed that lovingly and tenderly, caressed for 6.
It's quite a long hit to that boundary, out towards the players' dugouts.
He's hardly hit that. That's just timing. Oh, Mr. Darcy.
Wood looks a bit ruefully at the floor. There's a chat with James Fuller. Might need to have a look at the ball, see if there's any damage to it. Happy with the stitching? No. We need a replacement. So that's come down and hit something pretty awkwardly. Remember, the stream coverage of Gloucestershire cricket continues on Sunday. Ed Seaborn and Dave Fletcher, your team, to take you through the championship match against Derbyshire. First home championship game for Todd Murphy, the Australian spinner.
Yeah, man known as Goggles, apparently, is his nickname.
So his involvement will be interesting. He's here for 4 matches, so the game that starts on Sunday, the game at Cardiff, and then the 2 games at Cheltenham. So 3 home matches for Murphy. Memo to ground staff. We'd like a pitch that spins a bit, please.
Yes. Jack Chantry just going and changing the ball. Man whose father Brian played his cricket here at Gloucestershire. Jack's although he went to Shrewsbury School and was brought up in sort of further up on the borders. He's a Bristol City fan. His father was a parsimonious man who thought he'd save money by not taking his kids to the local Lido. He'd chuck them in the canal and say, watch out for the barges. There's Short just pushing one into the offside.
Should also say it's former Players' Day here on Sunday. Andy Brussington organises that every year.
Yeah, it's always a great day.
There'll be about, I saw a list which had about 40 on it.
Yeah, what's really sad is, like, you know, less and less come, you know, over the years. Shaw goes up in the air. That's 6 more. Darcy's on the charge.
I'm pleased to say that those spectators who are down in front of the pavilion were watching the ball as that made its way towards us.
Yeah, that is always families.
That is always the rule for T20. Please be aware, and don't think you can turn and have a long conversation with the person sat next to you.
Short hoiks this out to mid-on. It's all right. March on DeLunger's down there. He'll catch anything.
So 46 for 1. So Gloucestershire are 17 runs better off than Hampshire at the moment, with one ball to go left in the power play.
March on DeLunger's like sort of just watching over all the kids down there. It's brilliant. Short just angles the bat, just runs that one down. End of the power play. 46 for 1, and Gloucestershire just doing a professional job here.
Yeah, at the moment, nothing to particularly alarm the crowd in at Bristol tonight. Good crowd it is, not absolutely full, but a good number in, and a lot of them arrived very close to the start. I think there were some traffic issues, as often is the case around the ground, particularly on a Friday. Liam Dawson into the attack for the first time. So this is where the game is going to be won and lost, you feel?
Yeah, Dawson, how sounds like a firm of lawyers, doesn't it? But they're the guys who are going to win this for Hampshire if they can get out of jail here.
Bancroft to wait for Dawson. A short approach, ball slow left arm, of course. From the Ashley Down Road end. Big appeal, and Bancroft's gone first ball. Up goes Jack Chantry's finger, and Dawson strikes with his first delivery to Bancroft, and the Australian has to go. Let's have a look at this from behind the bowler's arm. Was this an easy one for umpire Chantry to give?
Yeah, he's played all round that.
Yeah, he was half a stride forward, but it looked to be going on and not likely to go over the top, so up went umpire Chantry's finger.
Yeah, Gloucestershire just have to be careful. You're facing the best spinner in the country here, or best English qualified spinner in the country, and Liam Dawson is a really good competitor. I would have Liam Dawson in the test side. You wouldn't? Well, I think the current incumbent there, Somerset, preferred Jack Leach to Shoaib Bashir, and I think Dawson's could add value to the test side.
Is it 3 tests you got?
Not many, not enough.
So Ollie Price in at number 4, and Dawson bowls to him, and he just squirts that out on the onside, no run. Dawson fields off his own bowling, so he's out of the power play now, so he's got acres to play with on the leg side, Ollie Price, and he wants a single, but he's playing against the spin to do that, so he sweeps instead, and that goes all the way along the ground to Brevis, who's out towards the mid-wicket boundary, and they'll take 1. Now, different problem, of course, for Short for Dawson, with Short as being the left-hander.
Yeah, there's no real footholds. There's a little bit, but nothing. You know, it's not like a 4-day pitch. Dawson's going to stay around the wicket to him anyway.
Yeah, so he's got 3 saving 1 on the offside, and again the big gap on the leg side. where Short will be working with the spin though, rather than Price who's working against it, and they'll take just one. Throw in from skipper Vince, keeps them down to a single.
That's what Gloucestershire need to do, just work the ones around, so get them up to 80, 90 and then just get themselves into position. Jack Taylor comes in and peppers the flats.
I might see Price sweeping a lot here.
Yeah, that's how he plays spin.
Dawson, and there is the reverse sweep, clever, and it'll go for 4.
Well,
I thought he was going to play the orthodox one there, but he's got the reverse sweep in his locker, and Dawson's field wasn't set for that, and he's whipped that away behind square on the offside, as it would be ordinary to him, for 4. 52 for 2. Target number 125, and this is a more orthodox sweep from Price. Doesn't get everything on it, and it's just a single out to Toby Albert at deep backward square. Pretorius didn't take the ball cleanly, but he's left it because that was the last ball of the over. So Dawson with a wicket, and Hampshire have got 2 of the 10 they probably need. It would be unlikely, you would have thought, that Gloucestershire would bat all 20 overs, not be bowled out and not win.
no, Hampshire have to bowl Gloucestershire out here. But it's the antithesis of batting styles here, isn't it? It's the sort of the conventional guy in Ollie Price will sweep, and he'll reverse sweep, but that's conventional now in T20 cricket against the sort of the mongrel of Darcy Short, isn't it?
The mongrel?
Well, he is. He's got that tough Aussie mentality. It's Oliver and the Artful Dodger. 53 for 2.
Here's Benny Hull.
Yeah. It's just onto the pads of Price. He'll just work it into the onside and pick up a single. But Shaw has got that tough Australian, as I said, that mongrel about him. And it's a positive word in Australia. It's a positive word here.
Benny Hull's just sorting his field out. It's a very gentle approach from Hull.
It's just turned.
Definitely pace off.
Into Brevis for a single.
So round the wicket to Short, over the wicket to Price.
How? Price just pushes that out to Vince.
I don't wish to be disparaging here, but Howell is almost bowling at the sort of pace you might bowl to somebody in a net. But that is deceptive, because he's moving the ball a lot more than most people would.
Yeah, he's also got great variation. You know, all of a sudden he'll bowl his quicker one, or he'll go a little bit wider on the crease, or he'll roll his fingers over one with no sort of discernible change of arm speed. And Benny Howell, he's been there, been round the block, got the t-shirt, but drops one short, and Ollie Price punishes him, working it round to fine leg for 4. Price moves into double figures.
And on your screen, the run rate down below 6, which is where Gloucestershire really want it.
Yeah, that's Benny Howell will be disappointed with that. That's not where to bowl to anyone, let alone Ollie Price. That's full toss, sliced away by Price. That's a brilliant bit of work out on the boundary by Toby Albert. They're going to come back for 3. What a throw as well. That's fantastic work. But It's still an expensive over, and it's 62 for 2 after the 8th.
At this stage, Hampshire 49 for 3. So Gloucestershire they've got the 2 overs in hand at the moment, and Dawson taken off after 1 over. You can see James Fuller from the Ashley Down Road end, and that is the way that Gloucestershire will want to be in this game. Feel that they are ahead of the rate, and that there's no scoreboard pressure towards the end. The only pressure might be how quickly can they get it done, but they've got to get it done, or get close to getting it done first.
Like Bon Jovi, they're halfway there.
Here's Fuller, and Ollie Price plays that with quite a high backlift up to long on rather. Only get 1, and that brings Short back onto strike. So he looked happier, I thought, opening at Canterbury, Short, rather than batting at 3.
Yeah, he gives the innings a kick, doesn't he? A kickstart, a bit of impetus.
Price already on to 15. Wickets shared earlier in the day. Here's Fuller to Short. That is short, and it's gone for 4. That's just a judge shot off his hip. You can't drag it down like that on this pitch to a left-hander when the direction of the delivery is like that. It was almost a freebie.
Darcy Short struggled initially when he first came over, and I think as his time with Gloucestershire's gone on, he's got better and better on English wickets.
He's up to 30. Fuller goes round the wicket to him, tries to change the angle, so he just dabs it down for 1 run to third man. Tom Prest is out on the field. I don't know who's gone off, but he's out as a sub fielder at the moment. So Price, Gloucestershire 68 for 2, chasing 125. Waits for Fuller from the far end, and he hasn't timed that, but he's got away with it because it's dropped short of Devalt Brevis out at deep mid wicket, and they'll get 1. See, those when Hampshire were batting were going straight to fielders.
Yeah, they were, and Gloucestershire the other night at Canterbury seemed to find the gaps, didn't they? Even when they were mistiming them, they were falling into the pockets as opposed to falling into the fielder's hands.
Fuller sprints in, round the wicket this time to Short. Oh, and he's a little jab on that. It's gone over the fielder at Short, fine leg, and they'll come back for an ambled 2 as Weatherly gets his throw back to keeper Pretorius. Hampshire look a bit flat in the field at the moment.
Yeah, it's gone quiet. Heads are dropped. You can see it. This is where a captain like James Vince needs to pick his troops up. It's also senior players as well. There's a number of elder statesmen, perhaps, in this Hampshire side, and it's down to them as well. It's not all down to the captain.
Short waits as Fuller comes past umpire Shentry, and he tries to fire that down the ground, but he won't get it past the Hampshire skipper.
You know, Benny Howe, Fuller. What's Dawson now? Is he in his 30s?
Oh, I should say.
Yeah.
35.
Yeah. James Vince, 36. Chris Wood, he's in his 30s. So there's a number of them who are senior pros. It's only really Eddie Jack and Toby Albert, and we've got some good youngsters coming through. They've got, you know, Tom Prest is another one who's always been particularly impressive.
Dawson's going to change ends here and go with the longer straight boundary towards the pavilion.
I just think there might be a changing of the guard at Hampshire. We've seen it off the pitch with the Delhi Capitals coming in next year, and that trinity of Barker, Abbas and Abbott. Yeah, and Abbas has now gone to Nottinghamshire. And it's just sort of, that's coming to the end of their time as well, isn't it? Dawson from the pavilion end. Price waits for it, just works it for one, content just to work the ball around and not do anything silly.
Well, it was Price and Jack Taylor who finished matters at Canterbury on Wednesday. I think Jack said after the game that you try not to leave it to somebody else. The idea is you take responsibility and try and finish it yourself. And I'm sure these two would want to get up to the target as a partnership if they possibly could.
Yeah, I think Delhi Capitals actually take over. Is it the end of this season or end of next season? Dawson over the wicket now to Short, who actually plays that pretty well. Just drops his hands and rides the bounce. Dawson getting one to spit. Over the wicket. Short. Just works it out to long on to Brevis.
Well, a defeat here would certainly be a jolt for Hampshire as they try and get into the top four for the knockout stages. So Gloucestershire would go into the back-to-back championship games off the back of 2 wins. They would still feel the chances there.
Fired in by Ollie Price, and that's a fantastic effort by Brevis, but he can only parry it onto the rope further around the boundary. And just the sheer timing there from Ollie Price gets the ball away. It's a lovely shot.
Good effort from Brevis, to be fair.
Brilliant effort. Superb effort.
Thought he'd stopped it at one point, but just pushed it sort of along the rope, and then the angle of the trajectory of the ball took it for 4.
Price sweeps out to deep square, just for 1. Price already 22 off 14 balls. He does such an important role in this Gloucestershire side in the middle order. Price and Jack Taylor, they don't need the power play. They can score quickly when the field's spread. Short just working that one, then back to the bowler. End of the 10th, so halfway through the Gloucestershire innings, and they're 78 for 2. 16 runs ahead of where Hampshire were at this stage, and also having lost 2 wickets less.
Yeah, the bowling figures for Hampshire at this point: Wood 3 overs for 18, Curry 2 overs for 19, Eddie Jack 1 over for 9 runs and a wicket, Benny Howell 1 over for 9 runs, James Fuller 1 over for 9 runs, and Dawson has just finished his 2nd over. Wicket for him 2 at the moment. Now Fuller. So it's Jack back into the attack. I do apologise. He wants that as a. I'll get it right in a minute. It's Curry. And that appeal fell on deaf ears as far as Jack Chantry was concerned.
There was no real deviation of the ball. Hampshire were adamant, weren't they?
I think as a fielding side you always would be in this situation. Curry tries again outside the off stump, and Price wanted the little dab down to 3rd man, but it was just a bit tight to him.
Yeah, Curry just
was line to do that.
Curry just having a little word with Ollie Price there, frustrated. I think he said "Okay, the new."
Curry to Price, who can't get that away either. We need more than just a couple of tight overs, Hampshire. They need wickets here.
Yeah.
When the runs to deliveries, and the ratio is less than a run a ball, batting side definitely in the box seat. Curry from the Ashley Down road end, pulled by Price straight to Brevis. He's gone. So 2 dots, and then again a tighter line delivery, and Brevis in at short mid wicket, and Price has found him, and therefore he has to go, and Gloucestershire lose their 3rd wicket. Price goes for 22.
Yeah, but with what, 47 needed, Ollie Price has done a job there. He came in, Bancroft went first ball, it could have gone horribly wrong, and he's got 22 off 17, done a real job for his side.
Yeah, at the moment, Darcy Short, the only player to show any sort of dominance on this pitch.
Here comes Jack Taylor, and fresh from a 50 at Canterbury the other night. I thought it was an innings of real leading from the front, real captain's innings. Saw his captaincy earlier. They're 2 different things, aren't they, captaincy? I thought his captaincy was really intelligent skippership today. And we saw at Canterbury the other night, the other side of captaincy, where you've got to contribute, and he led from the front there, I thought.
Look at a half century there. This is his 150th T20 appearance, Jack Taylor, tonight. As a rule, he would not want to let a bowler bowl to him and dictate, even from the first ball, but he might just have a look at a little bit of a look for a couple here against Curry.
Yeah, he'll play it.
He's heading for a wicket maiden at the moment.
He'll play it his way, Jack Taylor. He won't be bullied into submission.
Curry to Taylor, and he doesn't time that. That's gone out of on the offside. So a wicket maiden to Scott Curry.
You
so
don't get many of them to the dozen in T20 cricket.
47 to win. 9 overs to go. I mean, most sides would fancy chasing 47 off 4 overs, let alone 9 overs. But this isn't an absolutely obvious pitch on which you're going to get that sort of a rush of runs at the end. No,
I think Gloucestershire here just need to work the ones off the next 5 overs. Get it to 30, 17 to win off 4. Happy days. That's the ideal scenario for Gloucestershire. And these 2 guys, Short and Taylor, just work the ones around.
Dawson to bowl his 3rd over.
In he comes. Quicker ball. Thumps into the thigh pad of Darcy Short. Trying to just work it around the corner for 1.
That's a change in the field. He wants Howell to go
finer. So that means he's going to be targeting Short's legs here, I reckon. And he does completely opposite, gives them a short wide one outside of off stump. Thanks, Liam.
Now then.
1 to Darcy Short.
Don't get excited too early, Jack, I suppose is the scenario here. As Mark Lane said at one stage in the campaign on that Gloucestershire were going from 0 to 60 far too quickly, or trying to, and losing wickets.
Yeah, this is working the ones around now. Time to there's one of them. Taylor gets off the mark. We've gone out to deep cover.
I mean, Taylor is a player who can get from 0 to 60 very quickly.
He can, yeah, but is it that sort of pitch? I think when you try and play shots, the ball just goes up in the air.
And you've still got the joy, if I can call it that, of the right-left hand combination.
Short. Being conservative here. He'll want to win the game. He'll want a red inker. He'll want to be not out at the end. see his side home. Cut. Wasn't that short, but Darcy manufactures that and gets the ball out to deep point.
Back over the wicket to Taylor, of course, I say of course, but Dawson is doing that with 3 on the offside, saving 1.
Taylor just being watchful. They can see Dawson out here. They don't have to score off Dawson. 81 for 3 at the end of the 12th. They're still 12 runs in front of where Hampshire were at this point, and they've lost 3 wickets less. You're listening to Dan Whiting, Ian Randall here on Gloss Cricket TV, and today is all about pink for Sid.
Gloucestershire President, TV Lawrence, MBE. I'm sure he would have wanted to be on the ground tonight, but he recorded a video message for those in the crowd. Eddie Jack now is going to bowl from the Ashley Down Road end, despite that last curry over being a wicket maiden. So he's got 1 over left. Here is Jack, and Short pulls that behind square. Not a particularly graceful shot, didn't get all of it, but he gets a single out to Joe Weatherly, and 43 required.
We're going to see Jack to Jack.
Dawson's just being moved to fine leg, and they're pushing Albert round to deep square. Jack Taylor eyeing the boundary on that side of the ground, the Kennington Avenue side. Eddie Jack to bowl to him. He's gone crashing that away to deep points. A good tumbling stop out there by Weatherly. They'll come back for 2. The big dive was from Scott Curry at sort of a very deep gully on the edge of the circle there. Taylor keeps the strike. Which would go up to 8 points if they can win this game. And then there is the break for the 2 championship matches, which is Derbyshire home, Glamorgan away, and then come back for the conclusion of the rest of the T20. Jack 2, Jack Taylor has worked that beyond Brevis. There is a fielder out at wide long on, and they'll just take a single. So Dave Fletcher and Ed Seaborn will be your guides through the Derbyshire Championship game, which starts here on Sunday. Forecast is good, though I must say, from a personal point of view, blissfully it is not going to be as hot, I'm pleased to say. Short, who's been in since the start, squeezes another single away off a full ball from Jack out to Tailby out on the boundary at deep point.
Yeah, Darcy Short really earning his corn here. The job's not completed, but Gloucestershire in the box seat here, aren't they?
I think as long as Short stays there, I think the strike will continue to be rotated. He seems to have got into that frame of mind at the moment. Jack Taylor waits for Eddie Jack, and attempted Yorker, which he digs out.
He's got a good Yorker, hasn't he, Eddie Jack?
Up to mid-off, no run.
That was a good one, the one that did Miles Hammond earlier as well. I think he's got a lot of time for this lad.
Yeah, Dawson's got 1 over left. Wood has 1 over left. Curry 1 over left. Hull has 3 overs left. Jack will have 2 after this delivery, assuming it's not a no ball. And worked away from Jack Taylor from outside the off stump. Didn't move his front foot very much. It's gone straight to Brevis. No run. So a tidy over from Jack. Only 4 from it. 85 for 86 for 3. So Gloucestershire are creeping stealthily towards their target at the moment.
That's all they need to do. It's a matter of getting the win.
And what they don't want to do is to
Expose the tail.
Yes, I was going to say leave it to the lower middle order. Not that, you know, Charlesworth and Van Buren are not capable. Of course they are, but you don't want Hampshire to get suddenly 2 wickets, and then they would feel they were right in the game then, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, all it needs is another 20 runs and Hampshire heads will drop. That's all they need to do. What Darcy Shaw's doing there, just work the ones around. Intelligent cricket. Nothing flash, but Darcy Shaw he's a streetwise cricketer, isn't he?
Forever known as a mongrel.
Don't tell him I said that. I'm supposed to be interviewing him soon. You won't let me interview him. How? Taylor out. Caught by James Vince. One skipper caught by the other. And just what we said Gloucestershire didn't want to happen has happened. And Benny Howe will enjoy getting his brother-in-law out.
So, do you keep the right and left hand combination going, or do you just keep
Charlesworth?
It is Charlesworth. They're going to keep the order, so they'll have the 2 left-handers in together.
Yeah, I mean, I think with this Gloucestershire side, you've got left-handers all over the place. You know, with Darcy Short, Miles Hammond, Ben Charlesworth, and then obviously when you've got James Bracey in the side as well, he's another. So I don't think you can actually mix and match it. I think you've just got to go with it. And Ben Charlesworth, he could do with some runs actually, couldn't he?
I think these last 3 innings, last 3 matches have been did not bat, naught. So
yeah,
he could do with a little 20 not out here would be handy.
Yeah. He's a good cricketer, Ben Charlesworth.
Well, he had success with the ball earlier on today, which he hasn't had before in this competition. 2 for 11.
How? It's played into the onside.
It's going to be pace off from Hampshire here, I think, don't you?
Yeah.
Unquestionably.
Charlesworth just watching that one. This is Benny Howell experience coming through here. It's good stuff from Vince, gets across, cuts the single off. Hampshire have got their tails up here, they're fighting hard.
Would they be tempted to give the leg break of Brevis a go, do you think, in this situation with the 2 left-handers in?
Oh, it's a big call. Charlesworth waits for that one, cuts it, and he's off the mark. End of the 14th, 88 for 4. So Gloucestershire still in control of this game, but it's been the odd hiccup here and there.
Well, there we are. It's basically back up to 6, the run rate again. You know, 1 big over would make a difference. An over with a 10 or a 12 in it would help. What they don't want is 2 or 3 4s, because that would make it a tense finish. 37 off 4, 37 off 6 it is at the moment. So the gap is narrowing in terms of where Hampshire were. They got to 100 after 17 overs. They still got 24 off the last 3 from the tail enders, but this is Curry's last over.
He's bowled well.
Round the wicket. And Charlesworth would just take one out on the offside and fielded by Albert. So I think we can say reasonably confidently that there isn't going to be much change in the net run rate on this game.
No, but 36 needed Just work the ball around, and Hampshire's heads will go when there's like 15 to win, as long as it's not off 1 over.
Short waits for Curry. He nearly thought he'd got through there, but Short will just take the 1 run. Chase in from the rope was by Dawson. They're fielding in front of the man stand, who are probably giving him a bit of friendly opinion. Might be a few siders maybe as a result of that. Curry in his last over, goes to Charlesworth, who'll just again pinch 1. There are big gaps on the leg side for Gloucestershire if they want to play it as a singles game, which nothing wrong with doing that to get much closer and in a way try and take the Hampshire win out of the equation, particularly if they are still 4 wickets down. Slower ball, again forced into the gap by Short. The game is not being played much beyond the 22 yards of the wicket at the moment because the ball is going square a lot. I think that's being driven. It's just being worked. Charlesworth waits for Curry. And that's very fine. That will be 4. Curry looks aghast at that, but Charlesworth got a feather on it, and that's a good outcome for Gloucestershire in this 15th over.
Yeah, the Major from 40 Towers wouldn't be happy with that delivery, would he?
I think it was
down the leg side, it's a freebie, and Charlesworth just tickles it round the corner.
I think one of the clubs who have beaten Hampshire in recent weeks actually used that clip on their social media. Charlesworth steers 1 up to wide, long off for a single, and they started the clip and then stopped it halfway. Hello, 14, and then it sort of juddered to a halt. I thought was a different way of using it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
28 to win, 5 overs to go.
Yeah, next game here, Sunday the 6th of July in the T20 Blast, Gloucestershire versus Middlesex. 4 o'clock start. Ian Randall and I will be on the stream for that one. And
then Surrey the following Wednesday, I think.
Yeah. The Surrey Strutters are coming to Bristol. Will they go back to South London with their tails between their legs?
Well, they've got a good first half of the tournament. They're second in the table at the moment with 5 wins. So,
well, you expect nothing less from Surrey, really, do you?
James Vince is just some treatment, I think, from the Hampshire physio. They're getting a bit of strapping for a finger, perhaps, but he's going to be okay to continue. And Howell to bowl his 3rd over.
Yep, 97 for 4. Gloucestershire still 15 in front of where Hampshire were at this stage. Here's Howell. Oh, that's gone through everything. It's going to be 4 byes, I think. It is. And that's poor keeping, really, from Pretorius. You shouldn't let byes through on the offside. I wonder if that's kept a little low. It's missed everything, though, isn't it? Let's have a look at this again. No, really, got to take those. You can't. Boys down the leg side in professional cricket shouldn't be given. Shouldn't be, you know, but sometimes they are, but not on the offside. And that brought the Gloucestershire 100 up as Charlesworth just tickles one into the leg side. It's intelligent cricket from Charlesworth.
And suddenly now, you get past the 100 and 125 doesn't look so far.
No. Sure, just helping that one round to deep backwards square for a single.
Probably be worthy of him getting to 50, actually, Short, if he can.
He's really earned his corn here, I think. Darcy Short played a really intelligent innings. Charlesworth, that's come off Short's bat, actually. I'd get down the other end if I were you, though. Darcy, quickly. Still one.
He was quite apologetic to Benny Howell that it had gone off his bat, I think.
Yeah, but I saw one at Canterbury with Gloucestershire where Miles Hammond drove one off Cameron Green's bat and it went for 4. Short drills that one out to long on to Brevis. He's a lovely player, Brevis. Gloucestershire would have been glad to have seen the back of him for 13. One of the 5 catches from Miles Hammond, a world record equaling feat. That's down the leg side and it's going to be a wide. $19 to win.
Yeah, this is where, you know, a couple of blows and you're almost home, aren't you?
Yeah, but you won't want to lose anymore. Just all they need to do is just work it around. Still 4 overs to go. Do it last ball if they need to. Anyway, end of the 16th. 106
They'll
for
try
4.
and finish it in 9. I heard Jack Taylor say in interviews before, you try and finish it the over before the last one, so you don't leave it to a tense situation with 6 balls to go.
Yeah.
So Curry's finished 4 overs, 1 for 28. Wood has 1 over left. Dawson has 1. Howell has 1. Fuller's got 3, but he's not going to bowl all of those. And James Vince turning to Fuller now in the hope of something miraculous.
Yeah, well, it's the longest day tomorrow.
It's getting to now or not for Hampshire, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Oh, Darcy.
Short's pulled that from Fuller away into the man's stand to take him to within 1 run of his 50. It's been quiet progress for Gloucestershire in the last few overs, but this was a firmly struck pull away to mid-wicket. Fuller going round the wicket and didn't just make room there, Short. He just planted the front foot, confident in where that was going.
He's made this look easy. He's the only bat who's looked in complete control out there tonight.
40 balls. And having said that, of course, Dan's giving him the commentator's curse and he's clipped that straight to the man at backward point. Jack's taken the catch and Short is out for 49. It's 112 for 5. And he's angry with himself, as well he might be. Well done, Dan.
I've got no words.
Wicket to Whiting.
I've got no words. I've just got no words. But it's been a really good innings from Darcy Short. And he's got his side into a position where they now shouldn't lose this game.
No, so Graham van Buren out at number 7. And he and Charlesworth will want to get this done for Gloucestershire to get them a back-to-back win to go into the championship game with Derbyshire on Sunday. He weren't with us earlier. Ajit Singh Dale not playing in this game, really, because I think we have to take it as a cast iron certainty that Gloucestershire want him for that Derbyshire match. Therefore, despite having taken 3 wickets in each of the last 2 T20s,
he's been brilliant in recent weeks.
Rested for tonight.
He's been absolutely superb, hasn't he?
So Van Buren waits for Fuller. He just dabs that down to third man, where fielded by Chris Wood. He's away. Gloucestershire need 12. 3 overs and 3 balls to go. Well, 2 blows would do it. The Charlesworth is thinking like that. I suspect he isn't. 49 off 41 balls for Darcy Shaw. 3 4s and 3 6s in what you suspect is a match-winning knock, and that's Fuller bowling a slightly slower and back of a length ball to Charlesworth, who tried to repeat the shot that Short played earlier, but didn't time it at all and got through it too early.
Look, Van Buren just going gardening, having a little word with Charlesworth, saying, you know, let's not give this away now.
12 off 20. Fuller sprints in, and Charlesworth just plays a little dab out on the offside. Jack tries to throw down the stumps at the striker's end, but he misses, and they get through for a single. It's almost like a cup run from here for them, isn't it? If they're going to get into the top 4, they might be able to afford to lose 1, but that's about it. You've probably got to win 8. And this, they'll be thinking, ought to be the second. Forced away by Van Buren off the back foot. Weatherly stayed on that boundary almost all evening. His throw is not kind to Pretorius, but he got it back quickly, so there'll only be 1 run. 10 to win, 3 overs to go. I wonder whether Dan Whiting might have the winning runs tonight. We'll see.
No, I don't think Gloucestershire need to go mad. I think, you know, they can just work the ball out around 6 off the over. Still got 2 overs then to score 4 runs. What I don't want to do is lose a wicket now and expose, you know, Josh Shaw or David Payne or Matt Taylor or Tom Smith. Taylor and Shaw, decent bats actually. Smith can hold it in. David Payne's not the worst in the world either, but really don't want to be exposing anyone there.
I think the bowlers would be sat in the dugout at the moment saying, come on, you don't need us, just play it sensibly, and you shouldn't need us.
Yeah. Dawson back into the attack.
Last over for him.
Yeah. Sweet Caroline going round the ground. Pink for Sid. What a night here.
I thought 1 for Dawson, 1 for Wood, and 1 for Howell will be the last 3 if it gets that far.
What a night in Bristol. Van Buren cuts that into the offside. Vince feels, but they'll scamper 1.
The thing about tonight, of course, is that, as I said, we said it earlier on, this is the last Friday night T20, unless Gloucestershire get out of the group.
Yep, the runs to win now down into single figures. Dawson over the wicket to the left-handed Charlesworth, who goes dancing and tries to play this through mid-on, but Vince is across quickly, cuts off the single.
150 would have been an interesting chase on this, wouldn't it?
Certainly would. Oh, that's kept low, and that can't have been very far away from Ben Charlesworth's off stump. I'd like to see a replay of this, but I don't think it's a million miles away from bowling Charlesworth here. As Dawson comes in, Charlesworth again goes down the wicket, but 3 dot balls in a row here from Dawson. Here's that one again. Oh, you can't pin any blame on Ben Charlesworth there. There's one just thrashed into the offside for no run.
See Dawson off here.
Yeah, I think so. 9 off 2. Maybe get another one here. It's nervy times. That's just tucked again to Vince, and that's a really good over from Liam Dawson. Just the one conceded. He'll finish with 4 overs, 1 for 18. The one being Cameron Bancroft with his very first, or Cameron Bancroft's first ball, but Dawson, an experienced campaigner.
And I think this was always likely. Benny Howell to bowl the 19th, so you're trying to get the rate up for the last over. So, can Howell bowl an over here for 2, for example?
Hampshire have fought hard here. It's been a...
And leave Gloucestershire to get 7 off the last over.
Yeah, it's been a sort of one of those scruffy games of cricket that are often quite exciting.
Well, Hampshire have had 1 tie already in this competition. Albeit a short form game. Only 6 overs per side against Middlesex. Now then, a boundary somewhere in this over would make a massive difference. Van Buren against his former teammate Benny Howell. He cuts into the ground straight to Curry. They're not giving in, the Hawks.
There's 6 dot balls in a row.
Howell with his short approach, and Van Buren whips that down to long on. There'll only be 1. Brings Charlesworth back onto strike. The only score of more than 25 in the match. Darcy Short's innings in the Gloucestershire chase.
I said he looked head and shoulders above any other bat today.
Next ball he was out. Howell to Charlesworth. And he's bowled him. Well, that wasn't in the script from a Gloucestershire point of view. Howell, he did say if he bowled an over that only cost a couple of singles, it will make it awkward. He's done better than that. He's got rid of Ben Charlesworth for 11. And Graham Van Buren's now at the wrong end. He's going to have Matt Taylor to come out and join him. But Gloucestershire still need 8. And it's 8 off 9.
It's a nervy finish here, isn't it? It really is a nervy finish on a warm Bristol night. Who's going to come away victorious? Will it be the Hawks, or will it be the glorious Gloucesters?
Well, I feel sure it's got to be Chris Wood to bowl the last over. I wouldn't think it's a job for a young boy like Eddie Jack. I might be wrong. So it's either Wood or Fuller, and I would have thought probably Wood. What can Matt Taylor get that target down to? 8 off 9. Howell in the penultimate over. Bowls to Taylor, who tries to force it past the man at short extra. He can't pierce the field.
I tell you what, the nerves are jangling all around this stadium.
With a small total to bowl at, James Vince has worked his bowlers pretty well here. Matt Taylor goes straight, aerial, but there's enough of a gap out to Brevis that they can comfortably get 1. Now, 7 off 7. Van Buren ideally needs a single here to get on the strike. Howell's just sitting his field. He's got 2 men out on the leg side, only 1 saving a single on the leg side, 3 on the offside. And Van Buren pulls him to the leg side. That might go for 4. It's split the gap and it's gone. It's gone all the way to the rope. Howell is annoyed, but that, albeit it's the last ball of the over and it means that Van Buren isn't on strike, it's cut the runs necessary to only 3.
I think every Gloucestershire fan in this stadium would take the boundary over Graham Van Buren having the strike in the next over. And 2 experienced guys out there, Van Buren and Taylor. And 3 to win on what's going to be a nervy final over here at the Innings Stadium.
I did say you'd have the winning runs, Dan. Well, you might still.
Oh, why not? You never know. You never know. Sure, there'll be a lot of people on the south coast here thinking, don't get ahead of your game yet, Gloucestershire.
3 to win, it'll be Chris Wood.
This crowd are getting behind the side. They play a huge part. Talking to the players, how much the crowd play a part here. And it's vital that the Bristol public and the Gloucestershire public get behind their side.
What's the tactic here from James Vince? Is he trying to keep Gloucestershire to effectively 6 dots, or can he doesn't want to give Matt Taylor a single, does he really?
No, he doesn't.
So he's really got to have almost everybody on the one.
Chris Wood is going to come around the wicket to Matt Taylor. That's gone up in the air. That's going to be out. Oh no! The worst possible start to the over. Matt Taylor is caught by James Vince. And Gloucestershire need 3 of 5 balls. Is this going wrong, Ian?
Well, Van Buren is... I'm surprised that Josh Shaw hasn't come out, actually, but David Payne has come out at number 9. Bowled very well earlier on. And
Wood's just going to bowl back of a length here. That's all he needs to do. And they just need to scamper a 1, get Van Buren down the other end, and then allow him to finish the job.
Yeah, 3 wickets earlier on, but he hasn't been in this situation too often, I don't think.
Most important thing for Gloucestershire is to get the scores level, so at least they don't lose the game. I think David Payne's coming for a swing. No, because you send Josh Shaw in, wouldn't you, if you want a swing?
Well, perhaps they think if it gets desperate, Shaw is the insurance policy. He's done that before.
Got 6 to win off the last ball of the game against Glamorgan at Cardiff last year.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Wood to Payne, who tries to fiddle this one into the leg side, and it's a dot ball. 4 balls to go, 3 runs to win. The tension here. You just can cut the atmosphere with a knife. It's a hot, steaming evening in Bristol, and it's hot and steamy out there on the pitch.
Comfortably ahead after 10 overs.
Vince just slowing this down, actually, and it's not going to cause them any damage because the cut-off has gone.
And they're in the last over anyway.
Yeah, so Vince is just going to take his time here. Wood. Payne flips that one into the onside. I think he might get just the 1 though. But he's got Van Buren down the other end.
Van Buren was not interested in 2.
No. No, he's going to take responsibility for this. 3 balls to go, 2 runs to win.
1 for the tie.
Yeah, 1 for the tie.
Well, I mean, Wood has to be really careful. He doesn't bowl a wide.
Yeah, look, Hampshire having a committee meeting out there. There's 6 of them. 5 of them. See, when it's over, I'll count to 5. I've got this thing with 5 and 6. Can someone buy me an abacus, please? 123 for 7. Wood to Van Buren. That's him in the box. Payne's going to run through, and they're going to scamper a leg by. What's happened there? He's given out LBW. He's given him out LBW. I thought that hit him in the box. Let's have another look at this. It looked quite high. I know Van Buren's not the biggest guy around. Let's have a look here. Oh, I think the Gloucestershire dressing room might be disappointed with that LBW there. It's hit Graham Van Buren on the trouser line, and I think that they might be disappointed with this decision.
It's a long way back, but it's well above the pad.
See him in the box.
It was on the thigh pad.
Yeah. I think Graham Van Buren will be aggrieved.
So 2 off 2.
But it's moments like that that can turn games of cricket. And Gloucestershire, if they don't win this game, will be really annoyed with that decision, I think.
I think they'll also be annoyed at how they seem to have let a position where they had the game well set to a position where they need 2 off 2.
What a game of cricket, though. What a game of cricket.
So Devolt Brevis has just been positioned very specifically by Chris Wood. This is in case Shaw goes down the ground, you would think.
This last over, I reckon, has taken about 7 or 8 minutes.
2 off 2.
Wood in to Shaw. There's one. It's gone out to long off. Payne, no, he doesn't want it. But now, Gloucestershire cannot lose this game. 1 run to win off 1 ball. What a thriller. A hot, steamy, balmy night in Bristol and a hot, steamy, balmy game of cricket.
Pretorius has called for the helmet, so he obviously wants to stand up.
I think a lot of Gloucestershire fans are thinking, how have we got into this position?
Well, and that would be it. 81 for 3 off 13 to a position where, I mean, I said to you earlier on, I felt it was impossible that Gloucestershire could lose and not be bowled out.
Yeah.
Well, they won't lose.
They can't lose, but they won't want to tie from that position either.
No, absolutely not.
Hampshire have fought valiantly, though, haven't they? It's an element of Gloucestershire, you know, possibly throwing this away, but take nothing away from Hampshire, who fought tooth and nail out there. James Vince has really got his troops up for this one. It could be quite easily just to roll over from that position, and they haven't, have they? They fought valiantly.
Even when they didn't appear to have an awful lot on the board. Critically, Howell got a late wicket. Dawson bowled economically through the middle.
Yeah, we covered 1 tie with David Payne as the star, the centrepiece, the leading act last year at Surrey, where he's bowling. This time he's batting. And Hampshire just slowing this down, cranking up the pressure here. James Vince has been round the block. Chris Wood, he's got to go block hole. He's got to go in the block hole. Vince has gone in really tight. Long off has gone out though, it's the only one out.
Five on the offside.
Cut the tension here with a knife.
4
in
on the
Bristol.
leg, 3 in front of square.
Here's Wood. Scores level, final ball. And Payne whacks it for 6. Gloucestershire win. A thrilling game of cricket. And that's how you finish off a game, isn't it, Ian?
I think Wood will say he bowled the wrong ball there, because they took so much time setting the field. He wanted something that was back of a length, not full. And David Payne just swung through the line.
You have to go Yorker, and he's got the Yorker wrong. He's bowled it in the slot, and David Payne's punished him. But what a game of cricket. Credit to Hampshire, they played their part, but it's Gloucestershire who get home by 2 wickets.
Well, was it Josh Shaw at Glamorgan last year? David Payne didn't need a 6 off the last ball, but that's what he gave us. He's got a broad grin on his face. Look at that reaction with Josh Shaw. Perhaps saying, well, anything you can do, I can do it as well. A low scorer. Dan referred to that as a scruffy game earlier on, and the cards don't look much, it must be said. 124 for 9 plays 130 for 8 in T20 cricket does not sound a thriller, and in a sense it was a slow burner. Gloucestershire, I think, will say our out cricket today really good in the first half. Yes, Hammond took 5 catches, but all the bowlers did their bit. There were wickets for everybody other than Tom Smith. A couple for Charlesworth, who hadn't taken a wicket in the tournament so far. One for Van Beeren, who again hadn't taken a wicket in the tournament. They chipped away right down the order. The top score was only 18 for Hampshire from Joe Weatherly. And when they got to 46 for 1, just after the end of the power play, you thought Gloucestershire were pretty well set. Hammond and Ollie Price, useful contributions. Short was the glue. He got 49, but when he got out, it was tense at the end. Van Beeren got, well, a decision that he may look back on and say, well, I've had better ones than that.
He was a judge still, BW.
Yes, that's the one. That's the way. That's the terminology. But Payne, who doesn't bat very much in T20, clubbed the last ball for 6. Would finish with 2 for 26. All the Hampshire bowlers had wickets. Curry 1 for 28, Jack 1 for 14, Dawson 1 for 18, Howell 2 for 22, Fuller 1 for 18. So back-to-back wins for Gloucestershire this week. Yes, they've got a lot to do to get into the top 4, but it's not mathematically impossible. They will pick this up again after the 2 championship rounds, which now follow. The game at Glamorgan, after a game here at Bristol starting on Sunday against Derbyshire.
Yeah, that one's for David Lawrence, and what a game of cricket. And I'll tell you what, Gloucestershire aren't boring to watch. Go and get your tickets from the club website, because that was fantastic entertainment out there tonight. I know it's a scruffy game of cricket, but it was wonderful entertainment for a crowd who turned out in their thousands here for David Sid Lawrence, and credit to the Gloucestershire public.
One for DVL, MBE, and the next cricket on this ground is on Sunday, when Gloucestershire entertain Derbyshire in the Championship. Ed Seaborn and Dave Fletcher will guide you through that. Dan and I will see you again for the resumption of the T20 in terms of home games on the 6th of July, when Middlesex are here for a game at 4 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It may be buoyed by a win for Mark Alain's boys by 2 wickets here in Bristol. Good night.